Hello everybody and welcome to round 3 of the 2022 GP4 World Champ Car Offline Championship. We are here at the popular Road America circuit in Lake Elkhart, Wisconsin for round number 3 of the championship, the last US race of the season for World Champ Car before the series goes abroad. I am JW97 and I'm joined today by the host himself, Yuri Marta.
Hello, Terve.
Survey indeed, as we are getting set for the qualifying session here at Road America, and hopefully it should be a very interesting race indeed. Of course, last season when we were here at Road America, it was also a pretty exciting race, so hopefully it will produce the same this week as well. Now, a few things to note as well. I know that in the case of Anis Parachki, I know that he's sent a helmet in for World Champ Car, but currently Yuri is having some issues with the current helmets at the moment in World Champ Car, so at the moment he's not been able to put it on, but if he can find a fix for the helmet issue that's currently going on this mod, then he will eventually put it in, but at the moment he's just having a few difficulties, which is why if Ennis is watching, your helmet is not on at the moment. It's because you is having a few issues with the helmets at the moment. And also, a note as well, and it's appropriate that Farina is the first one to come out onto the track, because he has got a 5-place grid penalty for this race, because he obviously caused an accident at the last race at Austin. So wherever he ends up in this qualifying session today, Farina will drop 5 places back. So that will be something to keep an eye on, especially throughout this qualifying session. You've obviously seen the conditions. It's going to remain dry for this qualifying session, unlike what we saw at Austin where it was wet during qualifying. So a bone dry qualifying session for this. Whether we'll have that for the race or not, we shall have to wait and see. Obviously as well, if you didn't see the news on Twitter, or if you're on Discord and you didn't see the news somehow, then you will know that tomorrow's practice and qualifying sessions for the top class will be on an hour later than what it was originally meant to be, and that is because Yuri doesn't get home until quite later on in the day. He comes home just before 5 p.m, so it will mean that the practice session will start at 5 p.m. and the qualifying will start at 5:45 p.m. Now, we are aware that the F2 race is supposed to be scheduled at 7 p.m. It's scheduled to have the race there, but we can tell you that if the qualifying session does overrun into the time that F2 is meant to be on, then F2 will start straight after the qualifying session. So don't worry about that. If it does overrun, then F2 will not start until the qualifying session has come to an end. But hopefully the qualifying session finishes before 7 p.m. so that F2 can start on time. But we shall wait and see when it gets to that tomorrow, of course. But anyway, Luca Farina, the man with the 5-place grid penalty, is about to start his lap, and he's going to cross the line in the gold and black Chip Ganassi Mercedes power car now, as the next car on track will be Anis Parachki. I believe he was the guy that Luca actually took out in the last race at Austin, which is why he's ended up with a 5-place grid penalty. So that's pretty much that, as he goes down towards turn number 2 now then on the racetrack, as he'll now come down the back straight. Usually with this track, we normally see if there's any overtakes that go down on the pit straight, then usually we see the opponent that they just overtook re-overtake them again, going down into this left-hander down here, which I think is classed as turn 3. But then again, I could be wrong, because I think those curves may be classed as corner, so it might be classed as turn 5. Not 100% sure on that, but he did a 29.105 in the first sector there, did Luca Farina, as he now will go around this right-hander. I think you can take it flat out, as now he makes his way down towards the left-hander now then, before making his way around this long swooping right-hander, which I do believe has got a name, but for the life of me I can't exactly remember, so someone will have to say it in the stream chat if they can. Now up towards this flat-out right-hander, and it's basically a blast down towards the last heavy braking point on the track. It's not the last braking point on the track, but in terms of heavy braking it is now heading our way down towards the right-hander now. Then we have seen a couple of overtakes being done here in the past, although it is usually quite difficult to make the move stick, because it is very easy to defend on the inside going through into that right-hander. Now into the final corner will come Luca Farina. Let's see what the benchmarker time is going to be in the Chip Ganassi racing car. No mistakes for the Italian, as he now makes his way onto the pit straight, and across the line will go Luca Farina in the Chip Ganassi racing car, and he does a 136.147. And as mentioned, Anis Parachki is of course next onto the racetrack, and as mentioned, his helmet is not on display, and that is because Yuri is currently having issues with the helmets at the moment, so apologies for that. But anyway, is now coming around the right-hander goes Anis Parachki, and whilst we wait for him to set up a lap, of course, last time out at Austin, which you have to rewind 2 weeks ago to, Obviously, it was Julius Anderson who picked up the victory, making it 2 out of 2 victories for Team Penske so far this season after his teammate Zachary Fitzwater won the opening race at the GP layout of Indianapolis. And speaking of Zachary, he was able to make it a Penske 1-2 last time out at Austin. Which is why Fitzwater is still leading the championship going into this race. But will anybody break the threshold of the Penskes? You would imagine that Andretti and even, I would say, Pyramid as well could have a say. Because Pyramid so far, Yuri, have looked particularly strong this season. But reliability has been an Achilles tendon for them.
Yeah, pace-wise Pyramid have definitely been up there. But been very unlucky with the reliability. I think there's more to come from them.
Indeed, and that's pretty much that. And I don't know why you said me for the graphic there, because I'm pretty sure Yuri's the one streaming, Rob, not me. Apparently, I think Yuri forgot to turn off the graphic. You basically did what Flo did the other day, Yuri, when in the Assen race where he forgot to put the graphic down during qualifying, and it took us literally ages for the message to get through to him and Rob. So that was pretty much that. Luckily, Dennis was able to respond to that. So yeah, it was a little bit of a nightmare. But I just saw that Perachki was up by 2 tenths on Farina. I don't think that's too surprising because we do think that the McLaren has got a little bit more pace in the car than what the Chip Ganassi has, especially with the BMW engine in the pack, which is fair to say has definitely helped Pyramid this season. 7 tenths up in the middle sector there for Enis Perachki, as he will now make his way towards the right-hander. And so as now they go underneath the bridge, as he will now approach the final 2 corners now. Then through the penultimate corner he goes, and now into the final corner will come Enis Perachki, the 2017 GP2 champion. Out of the final turn he goes, and on towards the pit straight he goes, up the hill, and let's see what he'll do. I think he will go quickest. There was no mistakes on that lap as Perachki crosses the line now then, and it's 1 second quicker than Farina. Easy, 1:35.070, and not really too much of a surprise there. As next up on chat is Gillum Stop now then. Gillum Stop, I should say. I'm still getting used to the pronunciation of his name. I do apologise if he's watching, but it is Gillum Stop that's his pronunciation. Unlike what I called him in the first race, which was Gillum Stopey for some reason. I thought for some reason the E had an accent on it, but clearly not. It's just stop, as in a stop sign. But anyway, as Gillum Stoppy now, stop now, I'm doing it again, as coming up towards the final 3 turns now then. And Manor, it's safe to say Manor and Viper, similar sort of pace, although it's fair to say that I think Chip Ganassi have had a little bit more pace than both Manor and Viper, 2 teams, of course, who are also powered by the Mercedes engine, as now Stop makes his way out of the final turn, as he will start his flying lap now then here at Road America, as he will start his lap now then in the Manor, as next up on track will be Dorian Milewski. Now, I am aware that that's how it's pronounced. Rob actually told me via a DM that it's not pronounced Milewski, it's actually pronounced Milewski. So I will remember that in future. It's Dorian Milewski, his last name is pronounced as. So anyway, Stop now then, just coming out of turn 2, making his way down the back straight, as now they make their way towards turn 3. I think these are actually classed as corners from what I saw on the from a track map. Through turn 4 and then into turn 5 we go, as Stop actually 1 tenth down on Perachki in the first sector, and I think he's actually up on Farina, because I think there was roughly around about 2 tenths between Perachki and Farina in the first sector, so it seems that Farina might actually be slower than the Manor here at the moment, but we'll keep an eye on what happens when Stop approaches the end of the middle sector. Now heading down towards the left-hander before they take on this very, very long swooping right-hander. Very easy to understeer the car through into there and smack it into the wall, as it's obviously putting quite a lot of load on the tyres through into that part of the track. You do have to lift, I think, but it's mainly a very fast corner. Up towards the end of the second sector now, they're 2 tenths down. So yeah, it looks like, even though Farina didn't make any mistakes, it looked like a pretty slow lap for the Italian. It looks like Stop might actually get ahead of him here, providing that the Frenchman doesn't make any mistakes whatsoever, as now Stop making his way towards the penultimate turn now, then flicking it in through the left-hander, as now heading towards corner will come Gillum Stop now then, as he'll now make his way onto the pit straight, and Stop now then is going to cross the line, and the Frenchman, is he going to get ahead of Farina? I don't expect him to beat Perachki, and he does get ahead of Farina by 7 tenths of a second, so that's sort
feels like a strong lap for a Manor.
Yeah, indeed, because I'm a bit surprised really he's got ahead of Farina, because as far as I could see, there was no mistakes on Farina's lap, so probably it was just a poor lap from the Italian.
But soon we'll see if it was just a good lap for Stop or bad lap for Farina because Milevski is coming through next.
Milevski is next now then, the Polish driver, coming onto the pit straight now, then we go. And let's see if he's able to match the pace of his teammate Stop now then, as Milevski starts his lap now then in the second manner. As next up on track will be Yuri Kratichvil in the Viper, as now Milevski makes his way in towards turn 1 now then. Through the corner we go, medium speed turn 1, but very easy overtaking zone due to the long pit straight that we have here. Through into turn 2, and now heading his way onto the back straight now then, which has a few kinks in it. As now Milevski, let's see what his first sector is like compared to Prachki. I know that Stop was actually 1/10 down on Prachki in the first sector. Let's see if that's the case with Milevski. He's 2/10 down, so I say that's roughly the same sort of pace as what we saw with Farina earlier on, because I think he was 2/10 down on Prachki. I couldn't quite see though how many hundredths though there was between Farina and Milevski, so I don't know if Milevski is slightly quicker or slightly slower than Farina there into the first sector. We shall see when we approach the second sector whether or not Milevski is up on Farina or down on Farina. As now the Polish driver making his way around this long swooping right-hander now then. Let's see what Milevski's second sector is going to look like, as now making our way towards the middle sector, and he is 5/10 down the middle sector, so he's actually up on Farina because he was 7/10 down on Prachki in the middle sector. So Milevski could actually also be ahead of Farina here, which could suggest that it was a poor lap for Farina. Obviously Milevski is clearly slower than Stop at the moment, because Stop was actually 2/10 down on Prachki in the middle sector. So the fact that the Manor is actually only 3/10 off of a McLaren is actually pretty impressive for Stop. But anyway, Milevski now then making his way onto the pit straight. Let's see where he can go then. The Polish driver is now going to cross the line now then, and Milevski, is he going to get ahead of Farina? He can. He goes ahead by 2/10 of a second, and he goes into third place, but just under 5/10 behind teammate Stop. But yeah, I think that does suggest, Yuri, that was a very poor lap from Farina.
Yeah, and probably also the poor lap from the other teams can be punished by the Manors and the Vipers, because it feels like the two rookie teams for this season they are a bit closer than what they were last season.
Yep, indeed, as now Kratichvil starts his lap in the Viper, as the next car onto the track will be Rosetta Martinez in the Meyer Shank racing car, as Kratichvil makes his way into the first corner. So far, it's safe to say that Viper, unlike last season where Manor seemed to have an edge, it seems that Viper may have got slightly ahead of them in their little battle to stay out of last place in the team's championship, as Kratichvil just comes out of turn 2, making his way onto the back straight, as now Kratichvil will make his way towards the end of the first sector, and let's see what his first sector is going to look like. And he's 2/10 down in the first sector, so he's down on Stop, and I think he's almost 3/10, so that suggests he's also down on Milevski and also Farina as well, so he might actually be slower than the Italian here, but we shall see how he hooks up the middle sector, where I think it's safe to say Farina lost a bit of time, even though we didn't see any signs of him making a mistake through into this sector, but we shall see. Kratichvil now then heading towards this long swooping right-hander, he will go, as the Czech driver will come up towards the end of sector 2 very, very soon. And let's see what the middle sector is going to look like then. Kratichvil approaching the end of the middle sector, and he's 5/10 down, so he's actually found some time on Farina in that middle sector. So whether Farina did make a mistake and we didn't pick up on it, I don't know. But as far as what we saw, we didn't see any mistakes from Farina. So that just suggests that maybe he just couldn't get the middle sector hooked up the way he would like it. So Kratichvil now then approaching towards the final corner now, then he will go through the final turn, and onto the pit straight will come the Czech driver, as he'll now make his way onto the pit straight, and Kratichvil is now going to cross the line in the Viper, and he goes into fourth position, only just slower than Milevski, in fact, specifically 38 thousandths off of Milevski in the end, but still quicker than Farina by just over 2/10 of a second there. So yeah, Farina with a very poor lap, it seems, as now we look at Rosetta Martinez in the Meyer Shank racing car, another team who you could say is definitely fighting with the likes of Viper and Manor this season, and I wonder if Martinez is able to be quicker than Farina. We shall wait and see, as the 2018 DTM champion is about to start his lap now then, as the next car on track will be Luke Mason in the second Viper car, as Martinez now then heading into the first corner. He will go through into the first corner, and now using a lot of curb on the outside before making his way down towards turn number 2. So through turn 2 will go Martinez, and now using a lot of curb on the outside before making his way down towards the turns 3 and 4 curves now then. And let's see what his first sector, is going to look like compared to Parachki. And also at the same time, Farina as well. 3 temps down. So yeah, that is slower than Farina in the first sector there. So definitely slower than the 2 Manners and the Viper of Cratchitsville at the moment. As Martinez up the hill he goes out of the turn, and now...
Something makes me think that the Manners and maybe the Vipers are running lower wing and gaining on the straights.
Perhaps indeed, and so they might have a car that's definitely hooked up better than what Maya Shank and so far Farina's Chip Ganassi has. We still need to wait and see what Jared Fosbury can do in the other Chip Ganassi, and also at the same time what Martinez's teammate Yuri Gabriel can do later on. But 8 temps down in that middle sector, that is definitely slower than Farina, because he was 7 temps down in that middle sector. So unless he can find some time in the last sector, I think Martinez is going to slot behind Farina here. But we shall see as the Maya Shank racing car comes towards the final couple of corners. Into the final turn will come Rosetta Martinez in the Maya Shank racing car as he makes his way onto the pit straight, and the Filipino is now going to cross the line. Can he find some time in the last sector, or is he going to go into 6th position? He goes into 6th, and in fact just under 2 temps behind Luca Farina in the end there then. So yeah, 1.2 seconds off of Parachki as a result. As now we look at Luke Mason in the second Viper car, and I wonder if he's also going to go quicker than Farina here, like his teammate Cratchitsville did a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, let's see.
He is about to start his lap very soon, as the Brit will now make his way towards the final couple of corners, and now into the final corner will come Luke Mason in the second Viper that's been out on the track today. Out of the final turn and onto the pit straight he will go, as he is now going to start his flying lap here at Road America, and he's just going to cross the line now. Then the next car on track will be Lorenzo Tomaselli in the Carlin car, so Farina's fellow compatriot right there, as Mason through into the first corner he goes, medium speed corner using quite a lot of curb on the outside as he makes his way down towards turn number 2 now, then flicking the car in through that right-hander using quite a lot of curb on the exit, as now he'll make his way towards the right and left kinks now then. And let's see what his first sector is going to look like then compared to Parachki and also Farina as well, because that's also an interesting note as well. 1/10 down in the first sector, so that's roughly similar sort of pace to what we saw with Stop earlier on. So he's actually up on Malevsky, Cratchitsville, Farina and Martinez. So Mason looking like he's got some very strong pace as well.
This is turning out to be a very strong qualifying day for the 2 so-called rookie teams.
Yes, the Manners and the Vipers looking particularly well so far, as Mason through the long swooping right-hander he goes, as he will now make his way towards the end of the middle sector. Let's see what his middle sector is now going to look like. Flat through the right-hander he goes, and he's 2 temps down in that middle sector. So I think he could be roughly where Stop is at the moment, but whether he can beat him or he just slots behind him, we shall wait and see. It's going to be close between those two in their little battle, as now Mason comes out of the third to last turn now, then through into the second to last corner. And now into the final corner will come the Viper racing car now then, through the final turn and onto the pit straight now then will come Luke Mason, as he's now going to cross the line. And where is he going to place himself? Is he going to get ahead of Stop or behind Stop? Let's see. And he goes just behind Stop, in fact. Just under a tenth. Just under a tenth between the pair of them, as Mason goes into 3rd position, and just under 4 tenths clear of Malevsky there. So yeah, Viper and Manor having more pace than both Farina and Martinez in this session.
Yeah, even though I know they are going to drop back when the faster cars come, that is still a strong qualifying performance from both of the teams.
Yep, indeed, definitely some encouragement for them as well. We now look at Lorenzo Tomaselli in the Carlin car. Fair to say that his teammate, who is obviously Frederick Soper, is currently having a better season than him so far. But of course, it has been a while since Lorenzo has been OC, and so still trying to learn the lyrics. And of course, he's never driven this sort of car before this season anyway, so this is only his 3rd race in World Champ Car. Next up on track will be Yuri Gabriel in the second Maya Shank, so we'll obviously wait and see what his pace is like compared to Martinez throughout that. But yeah, so far Tomaselli Still yet to score a point this season, but he did show some decent pace at Austin last time out, and definitely still showing some raw speed. Whether he can get a point here at Road America, we shall wait and see. But as he's now coming up towards the end of Sector 1, let's see what his first sector is going to look like compared to Perachki. Last season, Carlin actually had quite a strong qualifying here, and so far, Tomaselli purple in the first sector, but only by 200ths of a second, so not really much between Perachki and Tomaselli. But as mentioned, Carlin, as you saw with the thumbnail, obviously, that's used for this, did actually have a strong qualifying last season when they had Soper and, of course, Mutka in the car. And I wonder if Carlin can actually have another strong weekend here at Road America. We shall see, as now heading towards the long swooping right-hander will go the Italian, is now heading towards the middle sector he goes, and going over that bump there, I just saw there's a little bit of a bump through into that long right-hander. Let's see what his middle sector looks like compared to Perachki. He's 1/10 up, so he's still purple at the moment. So as long as Tomaselli doesn't make any mistakes, he could actually go to the top of the timing sheets here in the Carlin. As now Tomaselli making his way into the right-hander, using a bit of curve on the inside, using a bit on the outside as well, and now heading into the penultimate turn goes the Italian, and now into the final corner comes Lorenzo Tomaselli in the Carlin car, and he should get him to the top of the timing sheets unless he's lost a bit of time in this last sector. We shall see. Tomaselli now then down the pit straight and across the line will go the Carlin driver, and he does go fastest by a tenth of a second, breaks into the 1 minute 34s with a 1:34.908. So yeah, Carlin also looking very decent at the moment, a little bit like last season at the moment, but still we have got plenty of cars to go yet, so I don't think we should jump into any conclusions yet with the Carlins.
Yeah, not even half of the cars gone yet, and most of the cars that's gone are one of the weaker teams. So let's see what happens when one of the top 3, top 4 teams come around.
Yeah, indeed. As we now look at Yuri Gabriel, is about to start his lap. It'd be interesting to see what his pace is like compared to Martinez, given that one Meyershank is behind both the Vipers and the Manas, and including Farina as well and the Chip Ganassi. Next up on track will be Frederick Soper in the second Carlin, so it'll be interesting to see what his pace is like compared to Tomaselli, who's currently at the top of the timing screen. But anyway, Gabriel into turn 2 he will go now then, using a lot of curb on the outside there, as I think he actually used quite a lot more than what others did. I don't know if he made a mistake through into turn 2 there or what, but anyway, Gabriel now then heading down the hill, and now approaching the end of the first sector. Let's see what the first sector is like compared to Tomaselli. 4 attempts down in that first sector there, and that's pretty slow in fact, because I think Martinez was a little bit quicker in that first sector. I know that it was compared to Perachki, but Tomaselli was only 200s up on Perachki in the first sector earlier on, so I think so far, and maybe he did make a mistake into turn 2, which is why maybe it looked like he took a lot more curb on the outside than what I saw others do out of turn 2. Gabriel at the moment, we'll obviously double check that in the second sector, might actually be slower than Martinez here. We shall see. As now Gabriel making his way towards the end of the middle sector now then, and now in towards the middle sector he goes, and he's 8 tenths off, and that's roughly where Martinez was. So yeah, I think Gabriel is just lapping slower at the moment than Martinez, but we shall wait and see. As now the Brazilian making his way through into the right-hander he will go, using a lot of curb on the outside, and now into the final couple of corners we will go, as Gabriel now then heading into the final corner, and onto the pit straight now then will go Yuri Gabriel in the Meyershank racing car, as now heading up the hill and now down the pit straight he will go. Where is he going to place his Meyershank racing car? Is he going to be ahead of Martinez? And yes, he is. In fact, he did find a little bit of time in that last sector and does go ahead, but again, Meyershank slower than both Viper and Mana here, and both Meyershanks not having good pace around here.
Yeah, that was a poor session for both of them.
As we now look at Frederick Soper in the second Carlin car, and it'll be fascinating to see what his pace is like compared to teammate Tomaselli, as now Soper just comes out of the right-hander, now into the final couple of corners will go the Polish driver. Through the left-hander he goes, and now into the final turn will go the Polish driver, who's had a pretty good season so far, it's fair to say, at Carlin so far. Currently 12th in the championship, obviously scored a point in the first race, didn't score any last time out, but still showed some decent pace as Soper starts his lap now and then. As next up on track will be Marat Patacek in the second McLaren. We've already seen his teammate Perachki doing a lap, so it'll be interesting to see what Patacek can do in the second McLaren, whether he can actually go quicker than Tomaselli or whether he'll be around about the same sort of pace as Perachki. As now Soper just comes out of turn 2 there, and now making his way down the hill and now let's see what his first sector is going to look like compared to teammate Tomaselli, as the Carlin makes his way down towards the first sector, and he's 2 tenths down in the first sector, so he's also down on Parachki as well. And if anything, because there was only 200s between Parachki and Tomaselli, I wonder if he's also down on Stop and Mason, because I don't think that was the best first sector there for Frederick Soper, but we'll see how he hooks up this middle sector before we draw any conclusions on that. As Soper through into the left-hander he goes, using a bit of curb on the outside, as now around the long swooping right-hander he will go, as now Soper will make his way towards the end of the second sector now. Then let's see what his middle sector looks like compared to Tomaselli, and yeah, 7 tenths off, so yeah, this is not looking like a good lap for Soper.
Oh yeah, he is getting destroyed by his teammate on this lap.
Yeah, indeed, as now Soper coming up towards the last 2 corners, as hello Thomas Cassidy has just joined us in the stream chat, as now Soper heading into the final corner and onto the pit straight now. Then he will go in the Carlin, as he'll now make his way up the hill, and now let's see, Soper across the line, he will go now then in the Carlin. Let's see where he's going to place himself, and he's down in 7th place behind both Manners and Vipers. So yeah, very poor lap for Soper, over a second off his teammate.
Yeah, a lap to forget. He can make the places up in the race, but definitely hasn't helped himself with that performance.
Indeed so. We now look at Marat Patacek in the second Arrow McLaren, or BMW Arrow McLaren SP I should say, as he will be starting his lap quite soon, as he will just make his way towards the final few turns. Again, it'd be interesting to see what his pace is like compared to Tomaselli, because his teammate Parachki, of course, is a 10th behind him. So whether the BMW and McLarens are struggling for pace around here at Road America, we shall see. As now Patacek through into the final corner and onto the pit straight he will go, and up the hill he goes, and Patacek is going to start his lap around about as he crosses the line now then, as next up on track will be Jared Fosbury in the second Chip Ganassi, and that will be very interesting to see what his pace is like, given his teammate is behind both Vipers and Manners on the grid at the moment, down in 8th position. Of course, let's not forget Farina does have a 5-place grid penalty, and given there's currently 2 cars below him at the moment, he would actually be last at the moment if it were to stay like this, but still, we've got plenty of cars left. There could be still plenty that end up being behind him in the pecking order in this session, but we shall see. Patacek up towards the first sector. What's it like compared to Tomaselli? 700th up in the first sector, so he's definitely quicker, in fact by a 10th quicker than Parachki in the first sector. As the Czech rookie now then making his way up the hill, through into the left-hander he goes, as now using the curb on the outside, flat through the right-hander he will go, as now heading down this little hill before heading towards the left-hander, and now towards the long swooping right-hander he will now go, and we'll see if it's still going to be purple in the middle sector compared to Tomaselli, as now out of the right-hander he goes, making his way towards the end of the second sector now then, as the BMW Arrow McLaren SP is 3 tenths up. He found a lot of time in that middle sector, and looking to be a very good lap here from Matt Patacek, way quicker than teammate Parachki in the middle sector, and clearly he's definitely enjoying this track at the moment, but let's see if he can keep this up. He can still make a mistake in these final few turns, which could ruin it all, but we shall see. Patacek into the final corner we will go now then, as the Czech driver making his way up the hill and across the line will go Marat Patacek in the BMW Arrow McLaren SP. Is he going to go quickest? He is, by 4 tenths of a second. A 1:34.445. That was a very good lap from him.
Yeah, very impressive for Gadgets, and yeah, I think that lap could give him quite the good grid position.
Indeed, we shall wait and see, of course, because we've still got 11 cars left. We're halfway through now, as next up on track is Jared Fosbury in the second Chip Ganassi car, and this is very curious as well, because we know that Farina is behind both the Manners and the Vipers. Is Fosbury going to be just as slow as Farina, or is it just going to be a case of Farina just had a very poor lap? We shall wait and see, as Farina now then making his way up the hill to start his Fosbury, sorry, to start his lap in the Chip Ganassi cars. Next up on track will be Delebosch Daniel in the Scuderia Ferrari, as now Fosbury through into the first corner. He will go using all the curb on the outside, and now heading down the hill towards turn 2. And so through the second turn goes the Mercedes-powered Chip Ganassi, and now heading his way down this back straight before heading towards the end of the first sector. Let's see what it's like compared to Patacek in the first sector, and also as well with Farina through towards the first sector, 3/10 down in the first sector, and I think that is quicker than Farina if anything. So I think he's definitely up on Farina. So looking like a better lap than what Luca managed, but we shall see what it's like in the last two sectors. Fosbury through the flatter. Still not good, but I think it's better than Farina at the moment. So Fosbury through into the left-hander, he will go as now through into the long swooping right-hander will go the Brit now then, as getting over that bump that's in the middle of that part of the corner, and now heading towards the end of the second sector. Let's see what he's done. He is 9/10 down in that middle sector, so I think he could be slower than Stopp and Mason. Whether he'll be slower than Malevsky or Kratichville, though, we shall wait and see. But yeah, definitely the Chip Ganassis look to be in the mix of those two teams in this session, but we shall see. Fosbury through into the left-hander he goes, and now into the final corner will go the Chip Ganassi driver, as now he makes his way down the pit straight, up the hill, and across the line. He will go now then. Where is he going to place himself? Jared Fosbury, across the line he goes, and he goes into 6th position. So yes, splitting the Vipers and Manners there, and being right in the middle of them. So yeah, Stopp and Mason having some very good pace, and looking to be in very good grid positions here.
Yeah, definitely going to be the best qualifying for Manners and Vipers of the World ChampCar era.
Indeed, and whether they can get a little bit more higher, we shall see. Next up is Bosch Daniel in the Scuderia Ferrari. Safe to say Ferrari look to have dropped back a bit in terms of pace compared to last season, but they're still relatively up there, but I don't think they're as close to the front as where they were compared to last season.
Yeah, but they need to do a bit better in terms of the driving as well. I think some of the performances in the two races have not been as good as they should.
Yeah, I think that's something they will obviously need to address. Simon Mutka will be next up on track in the Peugeot. Peugeot, it's safe to say, have had a very, very strong start to the season. Mutka didn't have the best start to the season in Indianapolis, but made up for it in Austin, and definitely got some points on the board, along with his teammate Lucian, who also got some very good points. 22 thousandths down on Patacek in the first sector for Busch Daniel, but I think he is up on Tomaselli, though, so but only just, so we shall see. As Daniel now then through in towards the flat-out right-hander will go the Hungarian, as he will now make his way down towards the left-hander now, then flicking the car in through the left, and now in towards the long swooping right-hander will go Bosch Daniel, and we'll see what his middle sector looks like, as you can hear the dog commentator in the background. Yay. As now in towards the middle sector we'll go, and Daniel, he's actually found some time in the middle sector, and he's now purple on Patacek in the middle sector, so clearly the Ferrari seems to be hooked up better in that middle sector compared to the BMW Arrow McLaren there, as now Daniel now they're making his way towards the final couple of corners. He'll go through the left, and now into the final corner goes the Hungarian. Is he still going to be purple on Patacek by the time they cross the line? The Ferrari driver up the hill he goes, and Daniel is now going to cross the line. Is he going to go faster than Patacek? Across the line he will go, and he is by nearly a tenth, in fact, a 1:34.354 for Daniel, and that puts him to the top of the timing sheet. So although he didn't get the first sector absolutely perfect, he was able to make up for it in the last two sectors there.
Yeah, decent lap, I'd say.
Next up is Simon Mutka in the Peugeot. Safe to say Peugeot have definitely made a step forward compared to last season, because both Lucian and Mutka have done particularly well so far in these early races.
Yeah, they've looked strong. Not like race-winning strong, but they seem pretty consistent in the points.
Whether they can keep that up, though, here in Road America, we shall wait and see, of course, as Mutka now then through into the right-hander goes, as he'll now make his way up the hill, and Mutka now then across the line to start his lap, and across the line goes the Polish driver. Next up will in fact be his teammate Alex-Eric Lucian, so we're seeing two Peugeots during these next couple of runs, as Mutka into the first corner he goes now then, and now using a bit of curb on the outside before making his way down towards turn 2 at the moment, as Mutka now then just coming out of the second turn, now making his way down the hill before making his way towards turns 3, 4 and then 5, of course. Mutka now then down the hill. Let's see what his first sector looks like, and he's 71 thousandths down in the first sector there, slightly down on Daniel as well, but of course Daniel was able to make up for it in the middle sector, so whether or not Mutka can, we'll have to wait and see. But he is down on both Patacek and Daniel at the moment, and I think he might also be slightly down on Tomaselli, but we shall wait and see. But of course Patacek was able to find a lot of time in that middle sector to be able to get the gap that he did on Tomaselli in the end, as now Mutka through into the long swooping right-hander he'll go in the Peugeot, as the Peugeot powered car making his way towards the middle sector. Let's see what Mutka's middle sector is going to look like. 3 tenths down in that middle sector, so still he's down on the pair there. Yeah, he's definitely fighting with the guy who replaced him at Carlin, of course, Lorenzo Tomaselli. So we'll see if he's able to beat him or not come the point where he crosses the line. So Mutka now then in towards the final few turns he will go on the racetrack, and Mutka now then into the final corner and onto the pit straight now then will go the Polish driver. And is he going to get in front of Tomaselli, or is he going to slot behind him? Let's see. Mutka across the line. He will go in the Peugeot and he goes into 3rd position. He gets in front of Tomaselli by over a tenth, in fact. 4 tenths off of Daniel in the end. But yeah, a bit of a, say, a 50-50 lap for him there.
It's good enough. He's ahead of all of the cars he should be ahead of.
As now we look at his teammate, Alex-Eric Lucien, who's had a very, very strong start to the season compared to last season, where despite getting a very, very good first race of the season last season, he kind of struggled for the rest of the season, but he seems to have definitely upped his game this season as the Frenchman, and looking to build on that here at Road America, as Alex-Eric Lucien starts his lap. Next up on track will be Thomas Anderson in the Pyramid, so the first of the 2 Pyramid cars coming out on track. And of course Anderson had a very good comeback last time out in Austin, of course, because he didn't have the best of qualifying in Austin due to the changeable conditions, but made up for it in the race by finishing in 7th, so clearly showing some very strong pace in that Pyramid, and could be a threat for pole position here, but we shall wait and see how his Pyramid car is hooked up this week. As now Lucien approaches the end of the first sector, and he's 1 tenth down on Daniel in that first sector, and also down on Patacek as well, because Patacek was actually up on Daniel in that first sector. But he is up on Mutka at the moment, is Alex-Eric Lucien. So looking at... Or is he? I'm not sure.
I think he's lower than Mutka.
Let's have a look and see what it's like in the middle sector, because we know that, judging from what we saw with Delay Bosch Daniel, you can still pull some time back in that middle sector, as Lucien now then coming out of the curve. And let's see what his middle sector looks like compared to Delay Bosch Daniel. And he's 3 tenths down in the middle sector. So, yeah, he might be slightly slower, in fact, because if you look at the gap that Mutka's got to Daniel, it's 0.407. So, yeah, Lucien might slot behind unless he can find a lot of time in this last sector. We shall see. As the Frenchman now then approaching the final couple of the corners he goes. And now into the final corner goes Alex-Eric Lucien in the second of the 2 Peugeot Sports that have done a lap. And now Lucien up the hill and across the line. It will go the Frenchman now then. Lucien across the line. And where is he going to place himself? He's going to be in 5th, in fact.
Tomaselli by 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, so Tomaselli splitting the 2 Peugeots there. So Lucien actually losing quite a bit more time in that last sector, and as a result Tomaselli only just able to beat him by 1,000th of a second there. Anyway, we're now looking at Thomas Anderson now then in the first of the 2 Pyramid racing cars. Thomas, it's safe to say, has shown some very good pace in this car. Arguably should have won the first race of the season, but a mechanical failure prevented him from doing that. Of course, got caught out in the changeable conditions during the one-shot qualifying last time out at Austin, but made his way back up to 7th. But overall, he's had a very good return to the OC fraternity at the moment.
Well, yeah, but also no, he's been a bit unlucky with the timing and with the car failure. But pace-wise, you'd expect him to challenge for good positions every single time. So I'd say if he doesn't get the purple lap now, it will be a disappointment.
Yeah, we shall see. As Florian Volker will be next up on track in the Andretti, as Volker's so far struggled to get up to speed in the Andretti so far, not been able to get a podium yet. He's been kind of around about 6th or 7th so far, getting caught up in quite a lot of traffic this season, but we shall see what Volker can do in this qualifying session. There's Thomas Anderson now making his way down the hill towards the end of the first sector. What's he like compared to Delay Bosch Daniel? And he's, as expected... Here we go. This is where we see some representation. Nearly 2 tenths up on Daniel in the first sector. And now coming towards turn 2 now. Then he goes. He'll now make his way towards the flat-out right-hander. As now heading his way down towards the left-hander on the racetrack now into the long swooping right-hander. He will go. As now Anderson now then through the long swooping right-hander he will go. As now heading towards the end of the second sector will go the Swedish driver, of course the brother of Julius Anderson, who won last time in Austin, and 2 tenths up in the second sector, nearly 3 tenths up I would say on Daniel in that middle sector that time by. And as long as he doesn't make any mistake, this should put him to the top of the timing screens, but we shall see. Anderson into the third to last corner there, into the penultimate corner will go Thomas Anderson in the Pyramid Racing car now then, and now into the final corner goes the Swedish driver now then, using a bit of curb on the outside. Up the hill he goes, and is Anderson going to go to the top of the timing screens? He should do, but let's see. Anderson across the line, he will go, and he breaks into the 1 minute 33. He's only just there, 1:33.999. The timing screen did flicker to a 34 there, but it ended up being a 1:33.999, and 3 tenths quicker than Daniel there, as we now look at Florian Volker, who's next up on the track in the Andretti.
Yeah, that was the first proper time in the pole position fight.
Indeed, and only just breaking into the 1 minute 33s there did Thomas Anderson. We shall see what his rivals can do though. First up in terms of quick cars, next up in terms of the quicker cars I should say, is Florian Volker in the Andretti. Safe to say he's not had the best of starts to his time at Andretti after moving over from McLaren, but clearly still trying to get to grips with the Andretti car at the moment. So far Gomez, his teammate, has had the measure of him so far this season, and Gomez has actually had a podium in every race so far. I mean, been on the podium in the first 2 races, finished in third.
You have to say that in this brief time of World Champ, Gomez has been one of the best drivers in this series, so even Volker will struggle with him.
Indeed. Next up is Adam Wolf in the second pyramid, and lots of questions surrounding Gabriel Gomez, of course, especially with the news that came out last week, of course, that Amelia Wilson will in fact be moving her retirement until after the her home race in USA, which will mean that the final 4 races will have a vacant Alfa Romeo seat. Obviously, Gomez is the current Alfa Romeo reserve driver, and of course an announcement will be made later on in the season, of course, but of course, Gabriel has been on record in the past saying that he's definitely focused on World ChampCar. So whether or not he'll fill that void at Alfa Romeo for the final 4 races, which will of course mean he'd have to miss the final 2 races of World ChampCar, maybe 3, depending on what happens with the third to last race. I think he'd be allowed to do the third to last race if he took it anyway, but we shall see. Anyway, but that's still a long time away. We shall wait and see, of course. Again, an announcement will be made at a later date, of course. Not yet, of course, because I think it's a little bit too soon. But as I mentioned, Volker 2 tenths down on Anderson in the middle sector. He was 1 tenth down in that first sector as we go back to the action, and he could end up even being behind Daniel here if he loses a bit more time in this last sector, but he's definitely down on Thomas Anderson at the moment as he'll now make his way in towards the final couple of corners now then on the racetrack. Volker into the final corner and onto the pit straight. He will go. Where is he going to place his Andretti? Is he going to be in front of Daniel, or is he going to be behind him? Volker, across the line he goes in the Andretti, and he goes into second. Only just, though. But, yeah, not the best of laps for Volker there. 3 tenths off on Thomas Anderson there as we look at Anderson's teammate, Adam Wolf, who is next up on track. And he was another man who was unlucky last time out in Austin. Now, he was leading at the time, but, of course, Yuri didn't think he would actually win the race in the end because of how quick Anderson was. But either way, Yuri, another podium was taken away from Wolf there, thanks to another mechanical failure for Pyramid.
Yeah, it seems to be Pyramid's biggest problem at the moment, reliability. The car is very fast, but also it seems like it seems to not be able to get over the line that consistently.
You could say it's a little bit similar to McLaren in the top class, of course, another team that's powered by BMW engines in the top class. Very fast on the straights, but they just seem to keep blowing up all the time. And clearly they've also got other issues at McLaren in the top class as well. Pyramid, on the other hand, it just seems to be the reliability that's the issue. But anyway, Wolf starts his lap, as next up on track will be Francesco La Rosa in the second Ferrari. So be curious to see what the Italian can do, as Wolf now then just comes out of the first corner, making his way down towards turn 2 now then as he flicks it in through that right-hander. It'd be curious to see what his pace is like compared to teammate Anderson, of course. Heading down this back straight now then, heading towards turn number 3 and then through 4 and then into 5, which is the breaking point. His first sector compared to Anderson, 1 tenth down in the first sector, and Volker was actually 1 tenth down on Anderson as well. So be curious to see what Wolf's middle sector is
look
like. Oh, he's locked it. He's locked it up. So yeah, I think this lap is down the toilet thanks to that, Yuri.
I don't think he's lost that much. It was just a little lock-up, but definitely going to hurt him a bit.
Compared to Volker as well, and I think any chance he had of trying to maybe find some time in the middle sector compared to Anderson has definitely gone down the drain. But anyway, Wolf into the middle sector, he will go. Let's see what his middle sector is like with that lock-up. 3 tenths down in the middle sector, and yeah, definitely down on Volker because he was 2 tenths down in the middle sector. Well. And I think he was going to end up behind Daniel thanks to that lockup, which clearly will not do his tyres any good. So Wolf will probably be kicking himself in the cockpit that he made that mistake happen. As now Wolf now then into the final corner. He will go in the pyramid car. And the final turn onto the pit straight. He will go as Wolf now then is going to cross the line. And where is he going to place himself? In the pyramid, and he goes into 5th actually. He actually slots behind Patacek as well. So yeah, that lockup definitely costly there for Wolf.
Yeah, this is what happens when you only get 1 lap in a qualifying. You have to nail it, and one little mistake can mean several positions.
We now look at Francesca La Rosa, who's next on the racetrack.
Really makes this qualifying format exciting, to be honest.
As mentioned, Francesca La Rosa is now out on track, as I realised that my stream was actually glitched because it was saying that there was only 1 viewer watching, but in actual fact there's 20 watching, so well done. A bit of a glitch there on my end, but anyway, as we get back to the action, Francesca La Rosa is now starting his flying lap. Next up on track will be Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti, so we'll only have 3 cars left after this, and it will be Gomez and then the 2 Penske cars of course, Fitzwater, the current championship leader, and, of course, Julius Anderson, the man who won last time out at Austin. Through into turn 2 then goes Francesco La Rosa in the Scuderia Ferrari, as he will now make his way down this back straight, and we'll see what his first sector is like compared to Thomas Anderson, and of course with Bush Daniel as well. So La Rosa in towards the first sector he will go, and he is 1/10 down in that first sector. So yeah, I think it's roughly the same sort of pace as Volker and I think even Daniel in that first sector, but we shall see as La Rosa comes out of the that corner now, then through into the right-hander, flat through the right goes the Italian, as he will now make his way down towards this left-hander with the bollards that are on the inside of the curbs there. As now La Rosa around this long swooping right-hander we go. We haven't seen any mistakes through into that part of the track so far, because it is a very easy corner to get it wrong. La Rosa now then into the middle sector he goes, and he's 3 tenths down in the middle sector. So I think it could be quite close between him and Daniel, and I think at the moment he could actually slot behind Daniel here, but we shall see. La Rosa through into the right-hander he goes, using a bit of curb on the outside, and now into the final few turns goes the Italian of Francesca La Rosa, and now into the final corner and onto the pit straight he will go. Where is he going to place his Ferrari now then? Up the hill he goes, and Francesca La Rosa is now going to cross the line in the Ferrari. Where is he going to place? And he goes into 4th position. He slots behind Bush Daniel, and yeah, P4 for Francesca La Rosa. As now we look at Gabriel Gomez, who's next up on the track, and it'll be interested to see if he can compete with Thomas Anderson here.
Yeah, considering how he's been in this series, you'd expect that he can. But let's see.
Yeah, indeed, as Gomez now then is just coming in towards coming towards the right-hander very, very soon, as the Andretti driver coming around that right-hander, and now into the final couple of corners. He will go now then, as through the left he goes, and now into the final corner goes the Andretti driver, as Gomez now then making his way up the hill, as Gomez now then is going to cross the line to start his flying lap. Of course, the next 2 cars will of course be the Penskes. They're the only 2 drivers left to do a lap. Zachary Fitzwater will of course be next up on the track, the penultimate driver out on track, and then of course last on track will be the man who won last time out at Austin, that being Julius Anderson. As Gomez now then down the hill he goes, making his way into turn 2 now, then he will go as he flicks it in through the right-hander, using quite a lot of curb on the outside, as he'll now make his way down this back straight now then before approaching the right and left-hander he will go as he goes down the hill. And Gomez, let's see what his first sector looks like. 2 tenths down. That is a very poor first sector, because compared to his teammate Volker, who was 1/10 down, Daniel being 1/10 down, and La Rosa being 1/10 down, this is not looking like a good lap for Gomez unless he can find some time in the last 2 sectors.
He'll if he doesn't find the time, he's going to struggle for top 7.
Yeah, let's see what Gomez can do as he goes around the long, swooping right-hander now. Then as he'll make his way towards the end of the middle sector. What's it like compared to Anderson in the middle sector now? And through the right-hander, 5 tenths down. This is a poor lap for Anderson, and I think he could even be. I think he's going to be in 7th position. So yeah, he's going to be in between Wolf and Mutka here at the moment if he doesn't find any speed.
Yeah, this is turning out to be a bit of a disappointment for Andretti, and he will have lots to do in the race.
Indeed so, and when you consider that Wolf had a lockup on his lap, that doesn't really look good on Gomez's part. But anyway, the Brazilian driver now then is going to cross the line, and he goes actually 8th. He lost more time in the last sector, and actually is behind Mutka on the grid. A very, very poor lap for Gabriel Gomez.
Yeah, that's very disappointing considering the car he's in. But he can definitely gain it back in the race. And now the 2 Penske's, which you can never rule these cars out.
Definitely not as well. I mean, of course, and Thomas Anderson has beaten the Penske's already this season at Indianapolis. So whether he can do that again here and get his 2nd pole of the season, we shall see. As Fitzwater now then makes his way onto the pit straight as he starts his lap now then. And of course, the last car on track will be Julius Anderson, who of course won last time out in Austin. So if Fitzwater isn't able to beat Thomas Anderson, then that confirms that it will be an Anderson that will be on pole. It will just be a question of which Anderson will be on pole position. And if Fitzwater can, then it'll be a question of which Penske will be on pole position. So Fitzwater now then making his way down the hill now. Then he goes towards the end of the first sector. What is it like compared to Thomas Anderson? Into the first sector he goes, 800s down in the first sector. So not much between them. So easily recoverable in the middle sector. We did see what Daniel was able to do compared to Patacek earlier on. So it's not impossible for Fitzwater to claw that back. But it's still going to be a little bit of an ask, I think. But we shall see. The Penske driver through out of the flat out right-hander there, heading down towards the left-hander, goes the championship leader. Is now Fitzwater using a bit of curb on the outside before making his way through this long, swooping right-hander. Goes the Australian now then. Let's see what his middle sector is like compared to Thomas Anderson now then. Heading in towards the middle sector we go. What is Fitzwater doing in this middle sector? And he's 3 tenths down. He's a lot of time lost in the middle sector. He's even down on Volker, and he could even be behind Daniel here, maybe even La Rosa as well. So Fitzwater might not even be on for a good lap here. Now, considering he was able to qualify in 3rd position in the Chip Ganassi last season, that's a pretty worrying sign there for Fitzwater. But anyway, the Australian, the championship leader, comes out of the final turn. Up the hill he goes now then. Where is he going to place his Penske now then? Fitzwater across the line. He will go, and where is he going to place himself? And he goes only 5th. He slots behind Francesco La Rosa, so not a very good qualifying for both Fitzwater and Gomez. So that does mean as a result it will be an Anderson that will be on pole position. It's just a case of which Anderson is going to be on pole. Is it going to be Thomas, or is it going to be this man right here, the man who won 2 weeks ago at Austin, Julius Anderson? Once again, the brothers are fighting for pole position.
No, we are going to witness the 2 tacticians.
Yes, indeed, the two brothers once again fighting for pole position. Both of them have very strong cars underneath them. You could arguably say that both of them possibly should be fighting for the championship this season, but Thomas has of course had his issues this season with the pyramid. But anyway, Anderson now then, the only man who can stop his brother from taking the 2nd pole of the season. Julius Anderson starts his lap now then as he makes his way onto the pit straight now then. He goes as he makes his way in towards the first corner now then. The only person who can now stop his brother from getting his 2nd pole of the season, Julius now then. Down the hill he goes in towards turn 2. He goes now. He's gone wide. He's gone wide. He's just about kept it on, but that lap has gone down the toilet. Clearly pushing too hard, and that surely should give pole position to Thomas Anderson here.
Thomas Anderson will qualify on pole position. That looked like a heavy mistake.
He attempts down in the first sector as a result of that, and well, it looks like the Penskes are going to have a lot to do in the race because well, that mistake has cost Julius dear there.
If he is setting purple sector 2 and 3, he could go into 2nd still.
We shall see as Anderson now then through into the left-hander he goes, and now he will approach the long swooping right-hander. He goes in the Penske now then, the Renault liveried Penske I should say, given the fact that he is the Renault reserve driver. As now Anderson in towards the middle sector he goes now then, and he's 7 tenths down in the middle sector, so that lockup costing him dear. And well, I think he could be in between Gomez and Tomaselli here. I think he could actually be in 10th position here, thanks to that mistake he made into turn 2. But we shall see as Anderson now then through into the left-hander he goes now then in towards the final corner goes the man who won at Austin a couple of weeks ago. Anderson, up the hill he goes. Julius Anderson, that is. Across the line, he will go. And it's not going to be pole. Thomas Anderson is on pole position. It's P12. He lost more time. He's behind Lucian on the grid.
Cooked his tires.
That is horrible, that for Anderson, and it's definitely cost him. He's got it all to do, but it does mean as a result, his brother, Thomas Anderson, is on pole position for the second time this season. He took pole position at the GP layout of Indianapolis, and now he's took pole here at Road America. You were saying, Yuri?
Yeah, I have to say many of the top cars just completely messed it up this time.
Indeed, but it means that Thomas Anderson for the second time this season is on pole position with Florian Volker on the front row for the first ever time in World Champ Car. So that's going to be interesting. Delabush Daniel in third, Francesco La Rosa fourth, the two Ferraris locking out row 2. Zachary Fitzwater fifth, Marek Patacek a good qualifying in sixth, with Adam Wolf in seventh, Simon Mutka is in eighth, with Gabriel Gomez ninth, Lorenzo Tomaselli in 10th, Alex Eric Lucy in 11th, Julius Anderson down in 12th, with Enis Parachki down in 13th, with Gillum Stopp in 14th, a good qualifying for him, Luke Mason, a good qualifying in 15th. Jared Fosbury in 16th. Dorian Malevsky in 17th. With Yuri Kratishvili in 18th. Frederick Soper all the way down in 19th. A disappointing qualifying for him. Luca Farina qualified in 20th, but due to his 5-place grid penalty, he's going to start in last position. So Yuri Gabriel will start in 20th, with Rosetta Martinez 21st, and Luca Farina, thanks to his 5-place grid penalty, will start in 22nd and last position. So we're just going to take a brief pause for the moment. Whilst Yuri sorts out the grid and I sort out the tweet for Twitter. But stick around because the race will also be on this stream. So, yeah, stick around, guys, because the race will be coming up very, very shortly. But in the meantime, I'm just going to get the tweet prepared for Twitter. So, stick around. The race is coming up in just a little bit. I am back, and, well, A very interesting qualifying session indeed, and well, some drivers you think would start towards the front of the grid, definitely out of position thanks to mistakes, not hooking up the lap as well as they hoped, and well, they've got a bit to do in the race, of course, and it will be interesting to see, of course, second time that Thomas Anderson is on pole position this season, but it will be interesting to see if he can actually convert it into the win this time, because of course it's arguably he was robbed of the victory at Indianapolis a month ago, and he's still looking for revenge on that one as well. But he's got a tough challenge in Florian Volker, who for the first time in World Champ Car history is on the front row of the grid, and maybe Volker can possibly sense a chance of maybe trying to get a victory here today. And well, it will be interesting to see, of course. He's the only Andretti that's up towards the front because Gomez is down in 9th position. Fitzwater in 5th with his teammate Anderson down. Julius Anderson, that is down in 12th position. And, of course, some other drivers are out of position. Paratsky, he's looked very strong in these Open Company races, is all the way down in 13th position. So a lot of work to do for him. Obviously, Soper's all the way down in 19th in the Carlin. So that doesn't bode well for him, of course. And so it's going to be very interesting to see. I think we're going to definitely... I mean, this track has produced overtakes a lot. Last season, it was probably... it's usually produces very good racing around here. I think we're going to be in for quite a lot of overtaking today, considering, as mentioned, a lot of drivers, arguably, are out of position in this one. Wolf down in 7th, of course, thanks to that lock-up, so it's unknown where he would have got to had he not made that lock-up going into turn 6 there. So... it's going to be quite an interesting one, I feel, as we wait for the grid to form up, of course. Of course, a reminder as well that Luca Farina, who ended up in 20th during that one-shot qualifying session, does have a 5-place grid penalty, so he will drop down to 22nd, because, of course, there's only 22 cars on the grid. If there was... 24 cars, 26 cars, and he would have dropped to 25th, but obviously that's not the case. We have 22 cars, so he's only going to drop down 2 positions down to last on the grid, so that would promote the 2 Meyer Shank Racing cars, who would have started on the back row of the grid after a tricky qualifying, but because of Farina's penalty, it means they've gained 1 place, so only 1 Meyer Shank Racing is on that back row of the grid, and also as well, Gabriel starts in 20th position. So that's pretty much that, as obviously it should be interesting. I'm not 100% sure how many laps it is for this race. So obviously we'll find that out later. Of course, it'll be interesting to see with the strategy, of course, because we don't have the mandatory 2-stop strategy like we had last season, of course. Yuri has actually ditched that because of the issues we had last season, and of course, so it means that we could see drivers doing a 1-stop, but so far, from what we've seen in the first 2 races, every driver has gone for the 2-stop strategy. So whether we will have that again at Road America or not, we shall wait and see, or whether we will get a couple of drivers going on to the 1-stop.
2-stop will always be like the heavily preferred one. Like,
yeah,
if the 1-stop happens, it's going to be very rare.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll be interested to see how strategy plays into that one, really. As now we got the stream back up on your screen now then. Oh, it should be in a bit. Once it comes up on the screen, of course. Yes, it is. It's now up on the screen. Just making sure, because, of course, for anybody who didn't see what happened in qualifying, of course, Yuri did the same thing as what Flo did back at Assen. So... yeah, that's that. But anyway, here is the grid then for 33 laps of action here at Road America. So, for anybody who missed qualifying, it is Thomas Anderson who is on pole position.
Wait a bit.
What's the matter?
I have a suspicion that even though I went to the track settings, I didn't do the mistake rate, so I want to just make sure.
Okay, alright, so just a bit of a delay, so you just need to double check something before we get underway, but yeah, it should be an interesting run into the first corner, judging, of course, from the thumbnail that you can see on the screen at the moment. Obviously, you would think that the guy on the inside, the driver on the inside line, should be able to hold on to the lead in the first corner, but again, it all really depends on that launch, because it is quite a long run to that first corner, so it should be quite interesting indeed. As I accidentally unmuted the stream there, so you might have had a little bit of an echo from me there. I apologise. But anyway, as of course, it should be interesting indeed. It'll be interesting to see what the Ferraris can do as well in that second row. A good qualifying for both Daniel and La Rosa in that qualifying session to get third and fourth, and so it'd be interesting to see what sort of impact they can have. Of course, Ferrari did take pole here last season with Sam Thompson, so they have had good pace around here at Road America before in the past, but Thompson was not able to convert it into a victory. In fact, Ferrari still yet to get a victory in World Champ Car in this series. They were not able to get one last season with both Gonzalez and Thompson. Thompson is again not in any series, of course, for this season. Of course, Gonzalez has, of course, moved over to DTM, where he's actually having a very strong start to the season, in fact, is the Spaniard. He's actually had quite a good start to the DTM season. So, obviously just waiting for Yuri to... we're just waiting for Yuri to double check with the mistake rate, and then we will get underway, of course.
Yeah, we are all good to go. It was all for nothing, actually.
Okay, but always best to be safe than sorry, of course. But anyway, we're about to get underway then. So, for anybody who missed qualifying, of course, this is what the grid looks like then. It is Thomas Anderson on pole position for the second time this season with Florian Volker alongside him on the front row. Then it is the two Ferraris on row 2 with Daniel Daniel in third and Francesca La Rosa in fourth position. Zachary Fitzwater in the Penske will start in fifth with Marat Patacek in sixth. Adam Wolf, thanks to that lockup, is down in seventh with Simon Mutka in eighth. A good qualifying for him in the Peugeot. Gabriel Gomez down in ninth with Lorenzo Tomaselli completing the top 10 in the Carlin. Alex Eric Lucian starting 11th with Julius Anderson, thanks to his mistake, starting all the way down in 12th position. Ennis Paratsky down in 13th position with Gillum Stopp in 14th. A good qualifying for him in the Manor with Luke Mason in 15th. Then it is Jared Fosbury in 16th. Then it is Dorian Milewski in 17th with Yuri Kratichville in 18th. Then it is Frederick Soper, disappointing 19th in the Carlin with Yuri Gabriel in 20th position. And on the back row of the grid we have Rosetta Martinez in the second Meyershank Racing car and Luca Farina, thanks to a 5-place grid penalty, down in 22nd and last in the Chip Ganassi Racing car. And it's going to be a bone dry race, no rain is expected. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road for 33 laps of action.
Before we start, because this was asked in the chat, commentary is available for anybody who wants to try it, as a side commentator at least. You just need to DM either myself or Flo.
Yes, I'm not in charge of the commentary stuff. So anyway, as we now about to get underway for 33 laps of action here at Road America now then, as we are now on the grid, as we get set for 33 laps of action, and it'll be interesting to see what strategy everybody is going with. And it looks like someone on 18 laps of fuel, so I think we have got a couple of one-stoppers in this race, so that should make things interesting. But anyway, 4 laps are on, 5 lights are now on. It is lights out, and away we go here at Road America. It's a very good launch from Volker, who's got alongside Thomas Anderson here into the first corner. Has Volker got the lead of Thomas Anderson down towards the first corner? They go side by side in towards turn 1. Has Volker got the lead down around the outside? And he has. Volker takes the lead here at Road America. He's got the jump on Anderson, as La Rosa has got the jump on Daniel there, so he's got up into third place. I think everybody's got through the first few turns safely. Milewski is down to last position, so he's had a terrible start to the race, as there's more side-by-side going on. Anderson is now going back at Volker as Daniel is going back on his teammate side-by-side through into the corner. Thomas Anderson retakes the lead from Volker there as Daniel reclaims third from his teammate. Fitzwater reclaims fifth from Patacek through into that left-hander. Everybody trying to keep it clean through into turn 5 there. Anderson's gained 2 places at the start, so a good start. A terrible start for Gomez. He's down to 12th at the start of the race, and well, a terrible start from Milewski. That's why, because there's damage between Soper and Milewski. In fact, Milewski dropped down to last before then, but yeah, it looks like there's damage already between Soper and Milewski, so let's see what happened. You can see Milewski had a poor start, got boxed in a bit and dropped down to last. In fact, Soper also having a terrible start as well, down to 21st, and I'm going to presume it's down at turn 5 where this has happened, and that is all on Milewski there.
Yeah, that's a 10-second penalty, that.
Yeah, I think that's all on him. He's come from way too far back and misjudged the braking. So that's a 10-second time penalty for Dorian Milewski in this race. And, well, that's his race down the toilet as a result. After a good qualifying for Viper Manor, it's gone down the drain as Volker tries to have a look at Anderson through into this right-hander, but Anderson closing the door there. And they've also got Daniel Bosch down right at the back. Looks like the Roses had some understeer through to the right-hander, and he's now under pressure from Fitzwater. Volker on the inside of Thomas Anderson, but Anderson keeping the lead as now Fitzwater tries to look to the inside of La Rosa through into the right-hander. Has he got the position as they go side by side in towards the penultimate corner? Fitzwater trying to hang around the side. He's got the move done. Fitzwater up into 4th position as, well, It's been an interesting start indeed, but Volker is coming back now. And Thomas Anderson, the battle for the lead intensifying. They've also got Daniel to worry about as well. Daniel setting the fastest lap of the race. Volker didn't quite get the straight line speed, but now trying to get back in the slipstream if he can. But Anderson holding on to the lead. Delabos trying to hang it around the outside and not able to get the move done. La Rosa has now dropped down to 6th position because Patacek has now got up to 5th, and now La Rosa is under pressure from Simon Mutka. But yeah, as expected, Yuri, a lot of overtakes in the opening laps.
Yeah, lots of action as the race director is even hard to keep up, as Daniel is overtaking Volker.
He's down the inside, and the Ferrari man has got the move done. Delabos Daniel up into 2nd place, getting better traction there. Now can Daniel set his sights on Thomas Anderson in front, as Malevsky and Soper are now both in the pits to repair damage. But yeah, very interesting opening laps indeed, and Daniel trying to chase down Thomas Anderson as best as he can now then, as there's still movements going on up and down the field. In fact, Parachki got a terrible start as well. He's dropped a load of places at the start. Dropped down to 15th and 13th on the grid, so it hasn't been the best starts for him. Meanwhile, Julius Anderson is up into 9th place from 12th on the grid. He's gained 3 places up to 9th, and now he's on the back of Wolf. He's in fact going for the move on Muka. There's an impressive move from Adam Wolf, a very brave move from him indeed, and he's up into 7th place. A great move there from a Pyramid Racing driver.
Let's see how he made it.
On the inside he goes, and just had the momentum. Very brave move indeed, because I know in several series that there have been crashes down at that part of the track before, but very brave for Wolf to pull that move up. But look at Delabos Daniel, he's got some insane pace in the early stages of the race. Could he potentially line up Thomas Anderson for a pass down to turn 1? Anderson already going defensive into the final corner there. Out of the final turn, is Daniel going to try and grab the lead here?
This driver has things to prove.
Yes, indeed, Julius Anderson has now overtaken Mutko. He's up into 8th place of Wolf and Anderson, making progress. Daniel not quite having the straight line speed compared to the BMW, but can he get later on the brakes compared to the Pyramid driver? No, he can't. That BMW engine keeping Anderson in front for the moment, but Daniel setting another fastest lap of the race there at this stage. Mutko now outside of the points. He's dropped down to 11th place, and well, I wonder if he's I don't think he's suffering for a problem, because nobody's coming to the pits. I just think he's clearly just struggling for pace at the moment. Mutka, as meanwhile, and Daniel on the inside of Anderson. Is this going to be the lead for the Ferrari driver? It definitely well is. Delabos Daniel takes the lead here at Road America, and well, what an insane pace the Ferrari driver has.
This is looking much better than the first 2 races, but of course we are at lap 3.
Yes, indeed, and let's not forget, most of the field are on a 2-stop. There are a few that are on a 1-stop in this race, and I wonder if Mutka is one of them, because he's dropping backwards at the moment as we look at Gomez, who's now up into 10th, so he's now finally back into the point, and I think that is a 1-stop for Mutka.
No,
so that
it wasn't. He had 8 laps.
Okay, so I misread that one.
Did I misread it? Yeah, it's 8 laps.
It says 8 laps. 8 laps. As meanwhile, Fosbury, that is very brave. That's 12th place there. I think he got the move done there on Alex Eric Lucian. So another brave pass there. Meanwhile, just in front, there's some battles going on there. As Gomez, I think, is trying to find a way through. And I think that's Tomaselli is back on the inside. Sorry, I'm struggling to keep up here because the amount of action.
Everything's happening in this track.
The top 3 are kind of separated a bit, but Anderson is still on the charges. He's now on the back of the other Ferrari. This man being Francesco La Rosa. Danny inside it goes as Gomez is trying to attack Tomaselli for 9th position. Danny inside goes Julius Anderson in the Penske. I think he's got the overlap done with Gomez struggling to get past Tomaselli and Strauss. Being 3 wide in the background as Anderson takes 7th, but there's 3 wide going on here. Fosbury up into 11th as Lucian has got by on Mutka. Mutka just got mugged down that straight.
Yeah, he's not looking that good at the moment.
Dropping backwards at this stage. Now Gomez has got a run here on Tomaselli for P9. Gomez now looking to the inside of the Carlin driver now. Then can he get the move done on the inside? Not quite, but he's going to try and see if he can get later on the brakes down the inside. No, Tomaselli still staying in front as Lucian re-overtakes Fosbury. There's Parachki's now got by on Mutka there. Parachki trying to have a go at Fosbury there, but didn't make it work out. Mutka is dropping backwards at this stage of the race at the moment as Volker and Anderson still keeping up with Delabos Daniel, but I wonder if Fitzwater is also starting to close in on this lot.
Yeah, Fitzwater is has set a ridiculous first sector actually, but he's losing on the second sector, so looks like Tepensky is going for low downforce here.
Trying everything it can to get by on the field As meanwhile, Wolf is now starting to close up on, I think that's Marat Patacek he's closing up to for 5th place. Anderson just watching on in the background as Gomez is still stuck behind Tomaselli. In fact, everybody forming behind Tomaselli. A bit of a Lorenzo Tomaselli train forming at the moment as Tomaselli again going defensive into that final corner. And can Gomez at the move on? Daniel setting another fastest lap of 1:35.037 at this stage as now, and in fact, Julius is now taking it away. He's broke into the 1:34, so 1:34.789 for Julius Anderson. Is now Gomez once again trying to get 9th place on Tomaselli, but just doesn't have the straight line speed compared to the Carlin. And the Carlin clearly set up quite well on the straight because we know that the Honda is more powerful. Sorry, they both have Chevy engines, of course. What am I saying? So clearly Carlin having a bit more straight line speed than the Andretti at this stage. And also coming up to the back of this is Lucien, thanks to Gomez getting stuck behind Tomaselli at the moment. Just doesn't have straight line speed. And Lucien using Tomaselli's slipstream to maybe try and get in front of Gomez here, but Gomez saying no to that, and he holds on to 10th place still. He cannot find a way past Lorenzo Tomaselli at the moment.
Yep, a bit of a struggle for Gomez because there's not that many laps in this race.
Yeah, but it is quite a long lap as well, so that's also that as well. As Kratichville looks like he's had a bit of understeer through into that left-hander there, but still in 15th place at the moment. As looks like one of the Meyershanks is up into 16th. They've had a good start from being near the back of the field. Not sure which Meyershank it is, as Mutka tries to have a go at Parachki again, but can't get the move done and had to back out at that one. Meanwhile, look at this lot now. Lucien trying to go around the outside. He pulled it off. Gomez clearly getting boxed in there by Tomaselli, and Lucien said, "Thank you very much. I'll take that final points place away." And now Lucien will now try and overtake. Thomas if he can. Meanwhile, Patacek has got both Wolf and Anderson breathing down his neck, and the inside goes Wolf on Patacek into the first corner. Has he got the move done as Anderson sets another fastest lap? Julius, that is, as Wolf gets up into 5th place. Now could Julius follow through on Patacek as well, or will Patacek try and find a way back past on Adam Wolf? Of course, both of them are powered by the BMW engine, of course, so both have the same amount of power in the back. It's just a case of how they've set up the car down the straight as Patacek came back into Wolf's slipstream, looking to the inside. Can Patacek reclaim the pace of Adam Wolf here, or will Wolf just have enough to stay in front heading into turn 5? Patacek late on the brakes, but Wolf is going to hold on to 5th place for the moment, and Anderson not able to find a way through because of the slipstream that Patacek was using to stay in front. There's all wide there for Gomez. He's made a mistake. I don't know if he got tapped off there, but Gomez has gone wide. Did Fosbury tap him off there? Going into the corner, and Fosbury was on the inside, and no, he just ran out of road there.
Fosbury pushed him wide a bit, but nothing too bad. So it's a bit of unforced error for Gomez.
Gomez now drops to 13 because he's also dropped behind Parachki as a result of that mistake. But meanwhile, speaking of McLarens, Patacek still coming under pressure here from Julius Anderson. Is Anderson going to be brave enough to do what Wolf did earlier on and maybe pass into this right-hander? He's thinking about it, but didn't have enough momentum to get the move done. As Anderson now in the slipstream of Patacek, heading down this back straight. Anderson on the inside he goes. Patacek trying his best to shut the door, and he holds on to 6th for the moment. But I think Patacek is going to find it difficult to fend him off in the pit straight. Lucien still stuck behind Tomaselli. Meanwhile, Gomez tries to get back at Parachki, but can't get the move done. Heading into that corner there, as now Anderson will try and line up Patacek for a move. The gap between Daniel and Thomas Anderson is now 9/10 of a second, so it's still under a second between the pair of them, but Daniel slowly pulling away from Thomas Anderson at the moment. Meanwhile, speaking of Andersons, Julius Anderson is now on the inside of Patacek. Has he got enough momentum to get ahead of Patacek into the first corner? Down the inside he goes, and no, he hasn't. Patacek is going to stay in front, so it looks like Anderson is going to have to wait for turn 5 to get the move done, as they now make their way through into turn 2 now then. Using a bit of curb on the outside now then is Julius Anderson now then through turn 3 and then turn 4 they go. As now Anderson on the inside of Marat Patacek. Is it going to be P6 this time for the Austin winner now then, as he goes down the inside into turn 5 later on the brakes, and he finally gets the move done. Julius Anderson up into 6th place. He'll now try and catch back up to Wolf, as in fact Marat Patacek is going to be pitting this lap, so he's on a 2-stop and he's pitting at the end of lap 7. We expected early pit stops due to the length of this track really and to the amount of laps we've got.
Yep, Piatet is going to be one of probably the first car to pit.
Indeed, as meanwhile Tomaselli still doing his best to fend off from Alex-Eric Lucien at the moment, as Gomez is in fact still stuck behind Enis Parachki at this stage of the race. Through the long sweeping right-hander we go, and now heading his way towards the right-hander now then. Is Lucien going to go for it? He thought about it but couldn't get the move done, as now they come down his patch lead. He's also got to worry about Fosbury, who's on the back of this as well. Fosbury, can he pull off the move around the outside on Lucien here? And he does the same thing as what Lucien did to Gomez, and it's now Fosbury's turn to be into the point. So he's making a good comeback up through the field as Wolf is now into the pits. In fact, Wolf is also pitting this lap. So Wolf and Patachak are coming in this lap. As meanwhile, Volker is only 5 tenths behind Thomas Anderson. So 2 cars into the pits this lap. In fact, another one just coming in the background there. I think that's Cratchitchville that's coming into the pits as well. Well, it's one of the Vipers, in fact, that's coming in. As now Lucy and Fosbury trying his best to get by on Tomaselli, but he can't get the move stick again. Tomaselli's just set up that car perfectly on the straight. There are a few cars in this train that are pitting at the end of this lap, and it is Cratchitchville that came into the pits there, and they'll drop towards the back of the pack as they pitted quite early on. But Fosbury, can he line up Tomaselli for a pass? This time by, he's going to go to the inside as Gomez tries to line up Parachki for a move, but Parachki has got Lucy and Slipstream in front of him. Fosbury on the inside. Can he pull the move off on Tomaselli? Yes, he can. He's up into a temporary 7th place because, of course, he's still yet to pit, so that will probably be 9th position once everybody makes their pit stop, of course. But meanwhile, Volker is on the back of Thomas Anderson here, so those two could fight out for 2nd place here as Delebush Daniel starts to stretch his advantage a little bit in front of Thomas and Florian here.
Yeah, they are now a fight for P2. That's going to help Daniel and Julius Anderson, who's been gaining on this lot huge amounts during all of this race. He's really fast.
Indeed, so Fitzwater's also not too far behind these two as well, so Volker could actually line up a move here on Anderson. I think Anderson just had a bit of an understeer through into the penultimate corner there. Can Volker capitalise as they go up the hill now then towards the first corner they go? Volker looking to the inside of Thomas Anderson. Can he pull the move off as he's actually pitting at his lap? So is Thomas Anderson and so is Daniel, so the top 3 are pitting this lap. Volker on the inside can't get it done, just doesn't the Chevy engine just doesn't seem to have the speed compared to the BMW engine down the straight at the moment, as now Volker through into turn 2 he goes, trying everything he can to get by on Thomas Anderson here. Parachki and Gomez and Mason are all into the pits. Meanwhile, they were in those two particularly were in that group that we saw earlier on, as now Volker on the inside of Anderson. Is this going to be the move this time by for the 5-time top class champion? No, it's not. Thomas Anderson just holding on for the moment, so I think he's going to have to wait for the pit stop to get it done. The 2 Penske's are going to be staying out, so it's going to be a 1-2 for them at the moment, as Julius is actually gaining on to Fitzwater at this stage. Lucien is coming in this lap. I think the guy in 7th place is also coming in. I think that would be Fosbury that's coming in this lap. In fact, a few cars are coming in. We know that there are a few that are on a 1-stop in this race, and I wasn't able to catch who that was, so it's obviously something to keep an eye on there. But the top 3 are for sure pitting at the end of this lap. So Soper comes into the pits. Clearly they didn't put enough fuel in when he came in for damage. But anyway, is now the top 3 will be coming in. Is Volker actually going to get by on Anderson before that pit stop now? Then he's on the inside going into the right-hander, but Thomas just has enough momentum to stay in front for the moment, so he's going to have to try and jump in the pits. And I think the Andretti does have garage advantage compared to the Pyramids, because I think this is also in Teams Championship order from last season, the garages. So in effect, Volker should have garage advantage here on Thomas Anderson, but we shall wait and see, as the top 3 are now into the pits, so it will mean that the Penske's will be 1-2 temporarily. I'm not sure what strategy both Fitzwater and Julius Anderson are on, but it's going to be very interesting to keep note of, as the top 3 are now into the pits. Let's see if Volker does indeed get the jump here on Thomas Anderson as they put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel. Further down the pit lane, of course, Delebush Daniel is in the pits as well, as they put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel. 8.8, but Volker's had to wait because there's more cars coming in. Anderson's also been held up as well.
Oh, this is a huge held up.
Hold up, but it's still Volker jumps Anderson. Has he also jumped Delebush Daniel as well? I'm not sure. Where is Daniel on the track? No, I think Daniel still stayed in front of that. Yeah, Daniel's still in front.
Team
but Volker
says thank you.
Yes, indeed, as Volker has jumped Thomas Anderson, but I do wonder how much they'll lose to the 2 Penske's with all those hold-ups in the pit lane. As there was lots of cars in the pits this lap. Yuri Gabriel being one, Gillum Stop being another one. In fact, Fitzwater's coming in this lap. Anderson is going to stay out for another lap. I don't know what strategy Julius Anderson is on. We'll obviously double check on that. He's on a similar... So a 2-stop for the Penske's then, it seems. There was a couple, I think, that were on 1-stops, but I could be wrong on that, because I think I did see 18 laps for a couple of drivers when we were on the starting grid. So that's obviously something to keep an eye on that regard. But anyway, Julius Anderson will take the lead, because, of course, Fitzwater is coming in at the end of this lap now. Then the championship leader just coming around the right-hander as Julius tries everything to close him down in the Renault liveried Penske, as now into the final corner we go now then, as Wolf is up into 9th place, not wasting any time on his fresher tyres, as Mason just made an error through into that corner. Double lock up there for the Viper driver there, as Malevsky's coming back into the... In fact, he's having to make a second stop in there, because I think he and Soper didn't take a lot of fuel. But anyway, Fitzwater is in. Now, where is he going to emerge in comparison to Volker and, of course, Thomas Anderson, who got heavily held up in the pits, of course, as Fitzwater, 8.2 seconds. Where is Anderson and Volker? In fact, he had to go a little bit slow there, because I think he might have had a little bit of a miscommunication there with Tomaselli, who came into the pits. Mucas also went. Where is Thomas Anderson and Florian Volker now? And in fact, Bush Daniel as well. In fact, where is Fitzwater going to emerge now then, as Daniel goes by? But Fitzwater is just coming out of pit lane, and he's ahead of both of them. So Fitzwater up into 4th place, as Volker is in 5th, as Thomas Anderson is currently stuck behind his teammate Adam Wolf here. And I think Wolf has made his pit stop. So in fact, because of that hold-up, Wolf has also jumped Thomas Anderson here.
Yeah, now interesting stuff going on with the pit stop. It's definitely mixed up things.
As expected,
Julius still has 10 laps to go.
He's on the 1-stop, and that could be very interesting. So it will be a Ferrari 1-2 when Anderson makes his pit stop then. Because that's going to be interesting to see if the 2-stoppers can catch back up to La Rosa. So I think La Rosa is one to keep an eye on in this race.
Absolutely.
As Julius
But I've
Anderson
also
now...
been wondering if it's going to be still a 2-stop, but with a really short second stint.
We shall see, of course. As I just saw on the graphic down the bottom, Thomas Anderson has finally got by on Wolf, so he's up into 6th place. So having a bit more fresher tyres to get by on Wolf, but that certainly would have not helped him, as Volker was able to pull away a little bit more thanks to those two scrapping. But Julius Anderson is into the pits. Where is he going to emerge? We know he was closing on Fitzwater before the pit stops. Can he do enough perhaps to jump his own team at 7.6? Very quick stop there for Anderson. Where is he going to emerge? La Rosa is in the lead. I expect Bush Daniel to also go by as well, but where is Julius going to emerge in comparison to Zachary Fitzwater here, as he goes trundling down pit lane? And there is Daniel's dot at the moment, as Anderson's still not come off the pit limiter yet. Through goes Daniel. I think he might actually jump Fitzwater here, you know. He's come out of the pit lane, and he has. Anderson has jumped Fitzwater.
Yeah, Anderson is looking very good for the win, maybe even. Let's see what happens with La Rosa though.
Yeah, it's that's one to keep an eye on, and it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if Daniel can keep Julius Anderson back, because we know that Anderson is going to be very, very strong on this stint. But Penske, as you said earlier on, Yuri, clearly thanking all that traffic for holding Volker and Thomas Anderson up, because they've now lost places thanks to that.
Yeah, Penske gained so much time with those pit stop hassle.
But at the moment, it is a Ferrari 1-2, and I wonder if that is a legit place for La Rosa. We think it is a 1-stop for the Italian, and as now we could see that is Gabriel just getting by on Lorenzo Tomaselli there. So it looks like Yuri Gabriel's got some very good pace. But again, it's going to be very interesting to see if this man can actually make the 1-stop work. Currently, it's a Ferrari 1-2, him leading ahead of Bush Daniel. There's a big lock up there for Rosetta Martinez in the Meyer Shank Racing car there, as he's got, I think that's Luca Farina right behind him. Of course, Farina had the 5-place grid penalty, of course, for causing that crash with Enis Parachki at the last race at Austin. So that's that. 16.6 seconds, the gap between the two Ferrari drivers. 2.8 between Daniel and Julius Anderson. 2.9 between the two Penske drivers. So Anderson shows how much he gained on that one lap that he had over Fitzwater. Down the inside, meanwhile, goes Parachki on Tomaselli, but he can't get the move stick. Tomaselli staying in front. It's not been the best race for Parachki today, it's fair to say. He's clearly struggled around here as we ride on board with Bush Daniel. Not sure what the gap is like now. It was around 16.3 last time by between him and La Rosa. What's it going to be like when they come up towards the end of Sector 1, I wonder. Meanwhile, Parachki once again trying to attack Tomaselli here for 14th position. BMW Power versus Chevy Power now then, heading down towards the first corner. Can Parachki get the move done? No, he can't. Tomaselli just holds on to the place for the moment, as now we look At Julius Anderson now, who's actually now 2.3 behind Anderson. Daniel only able to gain a 10th out of La Rosa that time by, so it's now down to 16.2. So Daniel's not really gaining on La Rosa as much as I was expecting, Yuri.
Maybe the tire wear isn't that high.
Perhaps indeed, but Anderson was able to take 3 tenths out of Daniel that time by to get it down to 2.3 seconds, I think it said there that time by. So Anderson is definitely gaining onto Daniel at the moment. So Daniel will probably need to keep an eye on his mirrors with Anderson very, very soon. I didn't quite see what that said that time by. It went in a flash there. As now around the right hand there goes Julius Anderson. We're right on board with Jared Fosbury. I think he's made his pit stop already. Is oh, he got a little bit on the ragged edge there through into that right-hander, and that was nearly a disaster for Fosbury there. I think he has made his pit stop, and I think he is currently in a legit points position at the moment.
Ooh, just a bit more and he slips into the grass.
Yes, indeed. He's very, very lucky there indeed, as he's currently in 8th position. Meanwhile, Gomez is into the points, but still stuck behind Matt Patacek, although he's going to try and look to the inside. Can't get it done. Patacek has also lost a lot in the pit stops as well. I think he was also held up as well during that whole pit stop race. As now, it's Julius Anderson now setting another fastest lap, a 1:34.355. So far, Anderson holding on to the bonus point for the fastest lap of the races. Meanwhile, Gomez looking to the inside of Mount Patacek now then, but he can't seem to get it done as they now make their way down the straight now then. And Patacek just with that BMW engine, just able to stay in front of Gomez. Now it's down to 15.5 seconds now between the two Ferrari drivers. So Daniel's starting to get his skates on ready, but he's still got Julius Anderson right behind him at the moment, who's still chasing him down at this stage. Meanwhile, can Gomez finally get the move done on Patacek here in the Andretti now then, side by side with the McLaren driver. He'll try to go, but it seems the BMW engine is keeping Patacek in front at the moment. That straight line speed has not helped Gomez today at all, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a very frustrated man in that cockpit today. As Farina now then tries to have a go at, I think that's Rosetta Martinez he's trying to have a go at now then, but still can't get the move done. Both powered, of course. In fact, no, what am I talking about? So the Meyershank powered by the Honda engine, of course, and Farina powered by the Mercedes engine. They used to be powered by Honda, the Chip Ganassi, but they obviously switched to Mercedes this season. 1.2 seconds, though, the gap between Daniel and Anderson, meanwhile, as Daniel is now only 15.1 behind La Rosa. Gomez still can't find a way through on Patacek at the moment, as Volker tries his best to gain onto Fitzwater in front, but of course Fitzwater has got 1 lap fresher tyres compared to him, so it might be a bit of a task for Volker to try and catch back up. Anderson with another fastest lap, a 1:34.335, and he's now getting close now to the back of Delebosch Daniel, as Julius is trying to challenge for a second victory this season, as we ride on board with Lorenzo Tomaselli. Oh, he's going wide. He's gone wide as Lorenzo, and he's lost a place to Perachki as a result. But yeah, a very clumsy error there from Lorenzo Tomaselli. I wonder if Kratichville's got enough momentum to also get by him as well. I don't think he will. So I think Tomaselli will stay in front. But yeah, bit of a clumsy error there from the Italian. Speaking of Italians, Farina trying to get by on Martinez here, but he just can't seem to find a way through at this stage, and Martinez again staying in front for the time being. As meanwhile, we've got a battle for second here now between Delebosch Daniel in the Ferrari and Julius Anderson in the Penske. Meanwhile, Yuri Gabriel has got by on Mutka for 12th position, and Gabriel, it's safe to say in the Meyershank, doing a pretty good job at the moment.
Yeah, what position was he in actually? Oh.
P12 has, will have to hold that thought for a moment, because Anderson tried to have a go at Daniel around that flat-out right-hander there, but just didn't have enough momentum to do it. But if he can get right onto the back of Daniel, he could maybe overtake him down the straight. It'll be Ferrari power versus Honda power, of course, down that pit straight. So it'll be interesting to see as Daniel goes very defensive into that final corner now then, coming out the final turn and onto the pit straight he goes now then, as Anderson goes to the inside of Delebosch Daniel's Ferrari now then. It looks like Daniel's going to lose it. Look at the power the Honda engine has got in the back of that Penske now then, as Anderson on the inside he goes, and he's got the move done. Anderson up into second place, but the question is, could that be the lead in the future? Because of course we still don't know what La Rosa is doing with that strategy. Will he make it work or will he won't? Because at the moment he's still well over 10 seconds in front of those two.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Ooh, Fosbury.
Yeah, another error there. Clearly maybe the nerves getting to Fosbury, I don't know, but that's another mistake from the Chip Ganassi driver. 14 seconds so far between the top two at this stage.
Fosbury needs to avoid those because his position will be very important.
Especially Chip Ganassi, who I don't think have scored a point yet this season, I don't think. No, they haven't. They're still yet to score points this season. Chip Ganassi. Meanwhile, Patacek is now holding up not just Gomez, but also Alex-Eric Lucian in the Peugeot, as meanwhile the two Viper cars are fighting for 16th. This is Cratchitchville trying to get by on Luke Mason here, but he can't get the move done. He has to hang back. At the moment, Daniel now starting to lose time to Julius Anderson in front as Tomaselli gets a bit of understeer through into the left-hander there, as just comes down the hill, and the Viper's not too far away from him at this stage. Still got 22 cars in this race at the moment. We haven't had a retirement just yet, although as I probably say that, we might get one in a minute. Gomez tried to have a go at Patacek through into that right-hander. Couldn't make it work. Could Lucian maybe do what he did earlier on Gomez again down into this corner? He's going to think about it, but I think Gomez is a little bit more wiser this time, and he holds on to 10th position.
Couldn't fool him twice.
Couldn't quite fool him twice on this occasion, but if they're not careful, both Yuri Gabriel and Simon Mutka, who have been fighting for 12th for quite a while, are also getting onto this fight for points here. So maybe Maishank could actually fight for some points here today in the form of Yuri Gabriel. We'll have to wait and see as Gomez once again can't find a way through on Marat Patacek. He's also got to be aware of Alex-Eric Lucian, who's trying to capitalise on any opportunity he can, but he can't get the move done. And in fact, Gomez has now lost momentum to Patacek and has now got Lucian all over the back of him.
The McLaren is really hard to get by. It's
definitely the power of that BMW engine is keeping him in front, that is for sure. Gomez trying again though. Can he get the move done? This time by short. Got in this time later on the brakes, and Gomez finally gets through into 9th. Is Lucian going to try and follow through as well? No, he won't. Patacek will hold on to the place for the moment, but finally Gomez is up into 9th place.
That took a long time for him.
Very long time indeed, and it wouldn't be surprised if he's seen red in his eyes with all of that, as we now ride on board with Julius Anderson. Last time we checked, I think he got it down to 12 seconds between himself and La Rosa. He's actually, in fact, he's in now. La Rosa is into the pits. Now, is this a moment of truth? Is this a one stop for the Ferrari drivers? He's now into the pits. Let's see how much fuel he takes as he puts on a fresh set of tyres. What is the fuel? 18 laps. That's a one stop. So it is a one stop for Francesco La Rosa in the Ferrari. Now that is going to be very, very crucial. Is that going to be the thing that's going to get him his first ever GP4 OC victory and Ferrari's first win in World Champ Car? We shall wait and see. 10.2 seconds to stop because of the amount of fuel that he was taking as La Rosa goes down pit lane. A very long pit lane, it's fair to say. It takes a while before they get off the pit limiter as La Rosa now then flicks off the pit limiter. Now Jared Fosbury is into the pits meanwhile for Chip Ganassi, and he rejoins in 7th place just in front of Gabriel Gomez. But I wonder if Gomez, who's actually pitting at the end of this lap, is going to try and overtake him down into turn 5, which might help Julius Anderson if that is the case, as they now come out of turn 2 now then. Gomez doing all he can to get by now then. La Rosa doesn't want to let him go. Down the hill we go. I think Gomez might actually go for the move here, you know. Down the inside he goes. Is Gomez going to ruin La Rosa here? And he is. He's got through into 7th place. But of course Gomez is coming in the end of this lap as Patacek and Lucian are still fighting for 9th place. Just behind Wolf is coming into the pits. Anderson is pitting this lap in fact. So in fact he's not staying out for as long as I thought. So Anderson pitting for a second time. And in fact Daniel is staying out a bit more. So I think that the tyre advantage could go to Daniel's way this time by.
Yeah, and considering how little there's been tyre wear, he could also be helped by an overcut.
Anderson now then into the pits. He's going to have 1 lap fresher tyres compared to Francesco La Rosa. So it's going to be very, very interesting indeed as Anderson now then pulls into his box now then. Let's see how quick the stop is going to be then from the Penske mechanics. They put on a fresh set of tyres. He's obviously going to be fueled to the end of the race because this is his second pit stop. And yeah, fueled to the end of the race. And quite a long stop this is, 10.2 seconds. So clearly carrying a lot more fuel in the tank than what he did previously. La Rosa, I don't think has gotten by just yet as Wolf has come into the pits. Where is La Rosa on the racetrack? He's just coming through now. So La Rosa has got ahead, but can Anderson chase him down? Meanwhile, Lucian trying to look to the inside of Patacek, but can't get it done. Anderson's still in the pit lane at the moment, and he rejoins behind Enis Parachki's McLaren, and just in front of Lorenzo Tomaselli, who I think could actually maybe try and go for a lunge on him down into turn 5. We shall wait and see as now they make their way through into the right-hander now. Then Wolf has mentioned he's into the pits for Pyramid Racing, so he's making his second pit stop of the day now. Then, as meanwhile going to the inside is Tomaselli. Is this going to prevent Anderson from maybe trying to catch up to La Rosa initially, as La Rosa's fellow compatriot does him a favour, and Tomaselli up into 9th place? So just like what we saw with Gomez earlier on, Lorenzo does the same thing, this time to Julius Anderson on this occasion.
This is going to make Julius' job very difficult, because Tomaselli might not be pitting in from lap or two.
So he's going to have to try and re-overtake him, I think, if he wants to make progress. Meanwhile, Lucian still attacking Patacek for 6th position. Meanwhile, Anderson trying to look to the inside of Lorenzo Tomaselli here, but can't get it done. And once again, getting held up by the Carlin driver here as he comes down the straight. Delay-Bush Daniel, meanwhile, is into the pits for Ferrari. So could this hold up maybe help Delay-Bush Daniel here? Because even though he was starting to drop back, he wasn't too far behind Julius Anderson. So I wonder if this hold-up could actually help Delay-Bush Daniel here. We shall wait and see. Volker is now also into the pits for Andretti, as now heading into the final turn is Julius Anderson going to get by on Tomaselli, this time by Volker finishes his pit stop. There is Daniel, who's just coming down pit lane. Is he going to get back in front of Julius, or is Julius just going to do enough to stay in front? There is Julius on the inside of Lorenzo Tomaselli. He's going to be close, but Anderson, I think, is just going to stay ahead, and yes, he is. Anderson stays in front, but Julius has still not been able to find a way through on Tomaselli. I wonder if that's because of the fact that Delay-Bush Daniel was coming out of the pit lane there. So anyway, Anderson will now try and re-overtake Tomaselli.
Daniel needs to use this opportunity.
Yes, indeed, as he's got also 1 lap of fresher tyres as well compared to Julius Anderson. But Anderson now on the inside. Can he get the move done this time by on Tomaselli as he goes to the inside? But again, Tomaselli is holding up Anderson here. Clearly, that Carlin is set up pretty well on the straight line speed, and Anderson is not going to be happy about this one. And in fact, Tomaselli is pitting at the end of this lap, so finally he'll be relieved. But Daniel could take full advantage at this point and maybe close the gap, as Thomas Anderson and Zachary Fitzwater are also coming into the pits. But all of this is definitely helping Francesco La Rosa's one-stop strategy work at the moment.
It's looking very comfortable for La Rosa with that.
Yep, indeed, but of course Lorenzo Tomaselli is coming in this lap, so Anderson will finally be free of the Carlin in front, but he definitely won't be appreciated being held up for too long, as Daniel tries to keep up as best as he can in the second Ferrari. And again, Anderson just can't find a way through on Lorenzo Tomaselli at this stage. Fitzwater is into the pits. Thomas Anderson should also be coming into the pits as well. Yes, he is. So both of them
Daniel
are now in the pits.
Fast. He's losing time even with this.
Yeah, so Daniel clearly struggling on this stint. Lorenzo Tomaselli finally comes into the pits, and Anderson is now relieved of that, but he won't be too happy about that one, that's for sure. Matt Patacek is now into the pits. There's Fitzwater on the right there, just trundling down pit lane. Parachki is... in fact, how many laps he got? He's got... That's a 16 lap... Oh, no, that was a graphic error there, because it was still flicking from Anderson. Sorry about that. Parachki is coming in at the end of this lap, so we'll get back up into second place as Thomas Anderson rejoins in 7th position, ahead of Wolf, way ahead in Wolf, in fact, his teammate, who both of them have clearly lost out on strategy today, it's fair to say. Fosbury up in 9th. Lucian, where's he going to emerge? He's going to emerge behind Gomez, so he's outside the points. Patacek rejoins in 12th position. La Rosa back in the lead of the race, and of course we are expecting Parachki in second place to come into the pits at the end of this lap. But yeah, now the game is on. If Anderson wants to win this, he's got to try and chase down that gap.
I wonder if he's able to do that, because the gap seems to be... It's
8.4 seconds.
8 seconds.
Oh, it's still possible, but it's whether or not he's lapping quicker than La Rosa. That's the question, as Gabriel just went by though on Mutka. So once again, these two are resuming their battle they had before the pit stops, as Anderson is gaining onto Parachki, but it's not going to matter too much because Parachki is coming into the pits at the end of this lap, so at least he's not going to get held up by the McLaren driver, that is for sure, as Daniel not really gaining onto Anderson, as you pointed out there, Yuri. So
4 tenths slower than Anderson.
So I think if he wants to make it a Ferrari if he wants to make it a Ferrari 1-2 today, he's definitely got to try and hope for a miracle.
Julius
1.5
has
seconds.
gained 9/10 on La Rosa last lap.
Indeed, as meanwhile Parachki has mentioned he's into the pits, so Fitzwater back up to 4th, Volker back up into 5th position. I think Thomas Anderson will get back up to 6th, yes he will. I think Wolf should get back up to 7th. I think Parachki might actually rejoin outside of the points, but we shall wait and see. As we look at Delay-Bosch Daniel now then, who's looking like he is continuing to lose time to Julius Anderson in front. So as mentioned, he's going to probably need a miracle if he wants to make a Ferrari 1-2. Both McLarens outside the points now after the pit stop. So yeah, so far it's going to be a race to forget for the McLaren pair, I think.
Yeah, not been their day.
Milevski, meanwhile, who's of course got that 10-second time penalty, is now into the pits. So I think he probably will rejoin towards the back of the field anyway. But we shall see. As meanwhile, Yuri Gabriel is now attacking Enis Parachki, who's just come out of the pit and looks like he could claim P12 here off of the McLaren driver. The gap is coming down, meanwhile, between La Rosa and Julius Anderson. It's down to 7.1 seconds as Yuri Gabriel gets by Parachki for 12th position. And now Parachki will have Simon Mutka right behind, although I would imagine Parachki will actually close back onto Yuri Gabriel due to the fact that he's got fresher tyres. But Anderson is definitely gaining onto La Rosa here. He got it down to 7.1 seconds, so I don't think this race is over just yet, Yuri.
No, it's not over. Of course.
Let's see what the gap is like this time by. It was 7.1 last time around. Well, that's 2 seconds between him and Daniel, but that's not the gap I'm interested in. I'm interested in the gap between the top two. We'll have a look once it flicks over in a bit as Milevski does rejoin in last position. 6.7, so he's taken another 4 attempts out of La Rosa on that lap. So yeah, Anderson is definitely in contention to try and take a second victory of the season and even take the lead in the championship, I think. Because going into this race, Anderson was 8 points behind Fitzwater going into this. And I think he will take the lead of the championship regardless, though, I think. I might be wrong on that. I will actually have to double check on that. But yeah. In fact, I think Fitzwater might actually still... We'll work it out. But anyway, as Parachki gets back through on Yuri Gabriel into the first corner there, and he retakes 12th position off the Meyer racing car. But if La Rosa wants to get his first ever victory, he's really got to be wary because Anderson is definitely catching up to him at this stage of the race now. Then flat through the right-hander goes the Italian. Meanwhile, Yuri Gabriel is actually going back onto Enis Parachki here. So it looks like these two are going to be trading places for a little bit. 6.1 seconds now, the gap between La Rosa and Julius Anderson. As through into 12th place goes Yuri Gabriel in the Meyer racing car. Up the hill we go. And so once again, Parachki still having to deal with the Meyer racing car in this race. Daniel just dropping back now from Julius Anderson, but I think he'll be content with 3rd position given that Daniel has not had, it's safe to say, the best start to the season really. So I think he'll be relieved if he can pull this off. As Lucien has got a problem! Lucien's got a puncher and he's going slow, and we're going to have our first retirement of the race. Oh no! He's been clipped by that's Patacek, and I think Patacek is out of the race. Yes, he has the debris. There's debris all over the place. Parachki's just avoided it. Mika is also out of the race as everybody's trying to avoid it. Oh, that was clumsy there from that Viper car. That's Luke Mason. He's out as Farina was lucky not to get damaged. But we've got chaos down the street. Where are the leaders, in fact? That's a Manor that's gone by there. But I think the wheels have cleared off, so I think they might be okay. But yeah, chaos down the straight. Just as we were saying, there was no retirement in the space of, this lap. Thanks to Lucien's mechanical failure, it's caused a lot of problems.
Yeah, he had to slow down very quickly, and yeah, that's a very rookie error in my opinion. Just driving to the back of the other car, and for Peugeot, it's very unfortunate because Mutka is out as well.
Yeah, indeed, and Tomaselli lucky not to get damaged there, so he's very, very lucky. Oh, he somehow managed to survive that as he actually
just flipped the wheel with his side. Oh, look at him almost losing control of the car.
Yep, as having to tear that one, but as mentioned, also out is Mason, who clumsily just went into the back of Patacek, even though he saw he was in front of him there.
Oh yeah, looks like the rookies. Yeah, the rookies making rookie errors here in this very weird situation that happened.
Indeed, but chaos here at chaos here at Road America. I think Nathan's saying the stream is lagging, but well, was lagging earlier, but I've not seen any signs of it. I don't know if it's just his internet that's playing up there or not, because I haven't seen any signs of the stream lagging. But anyway, as lots of people are having to come in now to change, well, to repair their damage. Really, Gabriel's had to come into the pits. He had damage on his car there, as there is leaders. The yellows have been lifted, so they've avoided all of that. But what is the gap now between Anderson and La Rosa, meanwhile? Because last time we checked, it was 6.1 seconds between the pair of them, as my dog's trying to get into the room, but I'm not letting her, because she's clearly scared of the hoot of the vacuum cleaner, but I'm pretty sure that vacuum cleaner is not coming upstairs, so I think the dog's just being stupid there, so apologies if you hear any scratching at the door there. But anyway, 5.1 seconds, so it's now just over 5 seconds between the top two at the moment, as Daniel is now over 2 seconds behind Anderson now, then 2.7 seconds to be exact, as including this lap, we've got 9 laps to go for Julius Anderson to close that down and try and win this race. And I think that was La Rosa just in the distance there that I just briefly saw there. So Anderson is definitely gaining, but catching is one thing, passing is a completely different thing, and it's going to be interesting to see if Anderson can actually try and pass La Rosa, if he does get close to the back of him, of course, as going towards and 5 we go, as Daniel just looking content to staying in third position. What's the gap between him and Fitzwater, meanwhile? It's gone up, I think. In fact, it's still roughly around about 6.7 seconds between those two. Coming around the right-hander we go now, then heading down the hill towards this left-hander before going around that long, swooping right-hander. We will go now then, as now... So now coming around the long swooping right-hander we go now then, as the gap is 4.5 seconds now between the top two.
No, it's
and
4.
4 seconds now, so Anderson has really got the bit between his teeth and really wants to spoil Ferrari's party here today, here at Road America. Through into the left-hander we go, as La Rosa will start lap 26 of the race. Coming around the final turn, onto the pit straight, we will go now then, as they make their way up the hill. Now, heading down the pit straight, as lap 26 we start now then. What's the gap now between the top two? 3.8 seconds. So Anderson only took 2 attempts out of La Rosa that time by, but it's now under 4 seconds between the pair of them. Even Delay-Bush Daniel is not too far behind the leader, 7.2 seconds to be exact. So I wonder if he could also, if Anderson gets by quick enough, maybe even have a go at his own teammate as well, as they just come out of turn 2 there. Anderson doing all he can to try and get his second victory of the season, and at the moment Fitzwater would still lead the championship, but if Anderson does overtake La Rosa, then he will take the lead in the championship, as Gomez is now stuck behind Jared Fosbury in what I think this is the fight for, I think, 8th position, if I am not mistaken. Through into turn 2 we go now then, as we now look at Julius Anderson, who's just making his way through into the left-hander now then. 3.5 seconds now, the gap between the pair. Meanwhile, Gomez on the inside of Jared Fosbury. Can he get P8 from the Chip Ganassi driver heading down the hill now then? Can he pull the move off later on the brakes? No, he can't. Fosbury doing a good job holding off 8th place for the moment now then, as we look at Julius Anderson, flat through the right-hander he goes. What is the gap now then between him and La Rosa? 3 seconds now, the gap. So he took a little bit more out of him in that middle sector, as now coming towards the final couple of corners we go on the racetrack now then, as Anderson doing all he can to try and get his second victory of the season. Now out of the final turn, onto the pit straight we go. What is the gap this time by between the top two, as Gomez tries to look again on Fosbury but can't get the move done. Fosbury holding on to the place for the moment, as Gomez in the slipstream of the Chip Ganassi driver tries to look to the inside as best possible. 2.6 now, the gap between the top two. Gomez again can't get the move done on Fosbury, but it's now 2.6 between the top two, as we've got 7 laps to go here at Road America. Through turn 2 goes Anderson, using a lot of curb on the outside, making his way onto the back straight we go, heading towards the left-hander we will soon be approaching. Meanwhile, Gomez again trying to attack Fosbury for P8 now then, but it looks like the Chip Ganassi has got that car set up perfectly well on the straight now then. Heading down towards turn 1, he can't get the move done. Again, Gomez still stuck behind Jared Fosbury's Chip Ganassi at the moment. Down towards turn 2 we go. Here are the top two meanwhile. Here's the one stop in La Rosa, and just behind is Anderson, who is definitely catching him up at the moment now. Then through the long swooping right-hander we go. Meanwhile, Gomez once again trying to get Fosby for P8 now then. He tries again on the inside. I don't think again he's got enough momentum. He tries to break later, but Fosby's just got enough to cover him off and hold on to 8th place. 2.3 seconds now, the gap between the top two drivers now then, as now we see Daniel who's still continuing to slip back from those two. Still keeping the gap roughly the same though between himself and Sakri Fitzwater at this stage. Through the right-hander we go, using a bit of curb on the outside. Now in towards the final couple of corners we go. Through the left-hander and now into the final corner we'll go. Daniel, what is the gap between the top two, I wonder? Gomez again trying to have a go at Fosby, but again can't get the move done. La Rosa starts lap 28 of the race. 6 laps to go here at Road America, and they're actually not far away from some traffic. In fact, the top two are, because that's Malewski there. 1.6 seconds now. The gap between the top two. Anderson is getting closer and closer to the Ferrari driver now. Then out of turn 2 we go, heading down this back straight. We will now approach on the racetrack now then, heading down the hill towards turn number 5 now then, because these right and left kinks are classed as corners as well on this track. Down towards turn 5 we will go now then, and it would be an amazing comeback if Anderson pulls this off, given where he started on the grid. He started down in 12th position. He will gain 11 places from 12. That will be an amazing comeback indeed. Fosby gaining 8 places from his original grid spot as well, so a good comeback from him. But anyway, we're keeping an eye on this battle for the lead now then, between Francesca La Rosa and Julius Anderson now then. Through the long swooping right-hander we go. What is the gap now then between the top two as they make their way towards the flat out right-hander? We will go where we had that chaos happen just a little bit earlier on. Now coming towards the penultimate turn we go, and the gap did not show us, but it's 1 second, 1.071 to be exact. La Rosa has got to be aware that Anderson is right close behind him now then. The Penske definitely showing more pace than the Ferrari at this stage now then, as through the final turn we go on the racetrack, heading out of the final corner and onto the pit straight. Up the hill we go. La Rosa, what is the gap now? It's surely going to be under a second this time by when they cross the line. What is the gap now? The gap is 0.7 seconds between the top two now then. Anderson has now got it to under a second between himself and Francesca La Rosa with 5 laps remaining here at Road America. Out of turn 1 we go, and now heading down towards turn number 2. I don't think Anderson is going to be close enough on this occasion to get La Rosa, but if he can keep this up, he could have an opportunity to pounce on the next lap on lap 30 and into turn 1. We shall wait and see. Heading down the hill we go. La Rosa definitely trying all he can to keep back Anderson as he's right there, as it's now down to 5/10 of a second now between the pair of them. Through the left-hander we go. Up the hill we go into turn 6, and well, it's definitely getting close as Gomez is still stuck behind Jared Fosby in their fight for 8th position. They've luckily got a big gap to Ennis Parachi just behind. Anderson's trying to have a go into this left-hander, but La Rosa closes the door through into the corner now then. And, well, Anderson was trying his, maybe trying to force an error there on La Rosa back, but could he perhaps get him through this flat-out right-hander we're coming up towards? Anderson has tried this move a few times. He's going to go onto the inside, but he can't get it done. And La Rosa holding on to the place. Is Anderson going to try and get him into the final few corners? Down the inside goes Julius Anderson. La Rosa shoving him to the right-hand side, and he holds on to the lead for the time being, but Anderson's going to get a run on him into turn 1 shortly as they come around the penultimate corner. Anderson really putting La Rosa under pressure. La Rosa goes defensive into the final turn. Out of the final corner, up the hill they'll go onto the pit straight. Is Anderson going to get the lead over Francesca La Rosa? They go side by side down towards the first corner. Has Anderson got the move done? He's side by side with the Ferrari driver. 4 laps to go. Surely this is the move done for Julius Anderson down the inside, and La Rosa tried his best, but Julius Anderson has done enough, and from 12th on the grid, Julius Anderson takes the lead here at Road America, and I would imagine he's going to break away, or can he though, because of course this is also a bit of a slipstream fest for trying to fight back. But has La Rosa got enough speed to try and get Anderson back down into turn number 5 now? And he's going to have a go. Is La Rosa going to retake the lead now? No, he's not. Anderson's going to hold on, and I think Anderson is probably going to get away now as a result. But La Rosa tried his best, but it just wasn't enough in the end.
Yeah, it was a good try, but Anderson's just been showing so much pace all of this race. And what a drive, because his teammate is only in P4.
And as a result, if it's to stay like this, Anderson will take the lead in the Drivers' Championship because, of course, he was 8 points behind Fitzwater going into this race. And I do think Anderson still has the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race, if I am not mistaken, as Daniel just comes around the right-hander. Just wondering if he's still got the bonus point, in fact. I'm just trying to work something out there at the...
He has the bonus point.
Okay, so he's still holding on to that fast lap. Yeah, there you go, confirmation there. So at the moment, he's going to have 26 points at the moment. If it were to stay like this, Fitzwater down in 5th position, so he's only going to get, 4th position, I should say. So he's going to get 12 points at this stage. So as a result, it will mean that I think Anderson will lead by 6 points ahead of Fitzwater going into Interlagos in 2 weeks' time, which is, of course, Gabriel Gomez's home race, and he's still stuck behind Jared Fosbury. Fosbury has done an amazing job to keep the Andretti back so far in this race.
Yep, but to be honest, I think the Andretti team messed up their setup because they've just have no straight line speed compared to the other cars using the Chevy engines.
Indeed, as La Rosa now dropping back 1.1 seconds. Daniel, I think he's gaining, but I don't think he's going to have enough to get 2nd place. But still, it's going to be a double podium for Ferrari, which I think they're going to be pretty happy about. But I think they'll be kicking themselves, so they couldn't quite the victory today, and it looks like it's going to be 3 out of 3 victories for Team Penske at the moment. Some people are saying that they should be nerfed, but anyway, as Gomez trying to have a go at Fosbury there, but he can't get the move stick, and he holds on to 8th position for the moment. As meanwhile, Soper is now on the back of that is it's one of the man. It's like stop, of course, and for Soper, it's just been a race to forget for him. Really, he's just had an awful race here at Road America, but it looks like he's going to get the move done here on the Manor, and he gets the move done into 16th. But I think that's just for pride, really, because yeah, he really just hasn't had a good race today. Has the Polish driver as Anderson starts the penultimate lap of the race now. Then as Gomez tries to find a way through on Jared Fosbury again, but again Fosbury doing a good job keeping Gomez back at this stage of the race now. Then as mentioned, 2 laps to go for Julius Anderson to get back-to-back wins this season, as Martinez has just had a moment going up the hill there and clearly struggling on those sets of tyres as he just goes around the flat-out right-hander now. Then obviously Malevsky has the 10-second time penalty, of course, but he's down in last, so it's not going to really matter in the end for Malevsky. He's just going to remain in 18th position. But anyway, as going around the long right-hander goes Martinez. There is La Rosa, who's now 2.1 seconds back now from Anderson. In fact, Daniel is actually only 3 seconds now behind La Rosa, but I don't think it's going to be enough for the Hungarian to get 2nd place off of his teammates, and so I think he might have to settle for 3rd at this stage of the race as we continue to ride the boy Fosbury, who is still doing everything he can to fend off from Gabriel Gomez today. Heading down towards left-hander. Gomez again trying to go later on the brakes, but he can't get the move done, and he holds on to 3rd place for the moment as we now look at Yuri Gabriel, who is, of course, Martinez's teammate. In fact, he's dropped back from the pit stops because he was actually looking particularly well. Of course, what am I thinking? He obviously got damage, of course, did Yuri Gabriel, which is a bit of a shame because he was looking at a very decent result in that Meyer-Shank racing car. But with fresher tyres, he gets by on his teammate Martinez into 14th position. So, yeah, a case of what might have been, really, for Yuri Gabriel today. But anyway, Julius Anderson is about to start his final lap of the race here at Road America, and well, what an amazing comeback drive it has been for Julius Anderson today. He started all the way down in 12th position thanks to a big lockup, thanks to a mistake he made at this particular corner, in fact, in qualifying, which put him down to 12th, but he scythed his way through the field, and of course, thanks to the hold-ups that happened in the pits with most of the top 3 early on in the race, the Penske's were able to jump them as a result and use their fresher tyres to get away, and at one point it was looking like La Rosa could make the one-stop strategy work, but Anderson clearly had a little bit more to play with, and at the moment he's looking like he's going to get back-to-back victories here, and he's going to make it 3 out of 3 victories for Penske this season. And, well, despite the fact that it seems that the pack has definitely got closer, Penske have clearly been the smarter team this season, it's fair to say. And, well, Anderson is going to take the lead in the Drivers' Championship as a result, because, of course, Fitzwater is down in 4th position. And thanks to also the bonus point, he's going to lead the championship, I think, by 6 points, if I am not mistaken. And, well, it's just been an amazing comeback drive from the 2016 DTM champion. Julius Anderson now then, around the right-hander for the 33rd and final time. He now comes up towards the penultimate corner. It's been a fantastic race for the Swedish driver. Into the final corner and onto the pit straight he will now go. And after an amazing comeback from 12th on the grid, it is going to be Julius Anderson who wins here at Road America. It's 3 out of 3 wins for Penske and back-to-back wins for Julius Anderson. And as a result, he now takes the lead in the Drivers' Championship. Francesco La Rosa gets his first ever podium in 2nd. Delay Daniel finishing in 3rd, a double podium for Ferrari. Fitzwater across the line in 4th. Volker will cross the line in 5th position. Thomas Anderson, after the hold-up in the pits, is going to cross the line in 6th position. From pole position to 6th, not been his day really. Adam Wolf will cross the line in 7th position in the second pyramid car strategy. Clearly not going their way. Martinez has dropped down to 16th, in fact. So, I don't know if he's suffering from a problem, but Fosbury is just going to hold on to Gomez to get 8th. So, Chip Ganassi get their first points of the season. Gomez crosses the line in 9th. Parachki is just going to salvage a point after what has been a tricky race for him. Parachki will cross the line in 10th position. The McLaren, Tomaselli will cross the line in 11th position. And so, Tomaselli coming up the hill now then. And he will cross the line in P number 11 now then in the car lane. So P11 for him. Kratichville cross the line in 12th. 13th will go to Farina. 14th will go to Yuri Gabriel. And I think Martinez, I just saw, drop down to 16th position, because also Soper has got up into 15th as well with fresher tyres. And you can see Martinez was struggling on those tyres in the end. Yuri Gabriel will finish 14th. Soper finishes in 15th. Martinez with shot tyres is 16th. Stop all the way down in 17th. After a good qualifying, he's dropped down to 17th. But in the end, it is back-to-back victories for Julius Anderson here at Road America. And as a result, he now takes the lead in the Drivers' Championship. So Julius Anderson picks up his 2nd victory of the season with Francesco La Rosa in 2nd. Delay Daniel finishes in 3rd with Zachary Fitzwater, who now loses the lead of the championship in 4th. Florian Volker in 5th, got held up by that traffic in the pits. Same with Thomas Anderson, he finishes in 6th with Adam Wolf in 7th. The strategy didn't go his way today. Jared Fosbury picks up Chip Ganassi's first points of the season in 8th. Gabriel Gomez, a race to forget for him in 9th. Enis Parachki, also a race to forget for him in 10th. With Lorenzo Tomaselli in 11th. Yuri Kratichville in 12th with Luca Farina 13th. Yuri Gabriel 14th. Frederick Soper, a disappointing race in 15th with Rosetta Martinez in 16th. Gillum Stop in 19th with Dorian Milewski in 18th. He had a 10-second time penalty, but he's going to stay in 18th anyway because he was the only one to be a lap down. With Simon Mutka, Luke Mason, Marit Patacek and Alex-Eric Lucien, the 4 retirements thanks to that chaos that happened after Lucien's puncture. And the fastest lap went to Julius Anderson by 6/10 ahead of Florian Volker. So along with the 25 points that he'll get for the victory, he also gets the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. So 26 points going the way to Julius Anderson. Of course, he doesn't get the pole point because that went to his brother Thomas Anderson. But there you have it then. That has been it from Road America. A very exciting race indeed, Yuri.
Yep, another good race in the World ChampCar series.
Yep, indeed, and well, a very, very good victory for Julius Anderson here at Road America. And from P12 on the grid, an amazing comeback, and he now leads the Drivers' Championship. But there you have it then. That has been it from Road America here for World ChampCar. Of course, we're not done with live streams just yet, because coming up at 7 p.m. GMT, we have the Formula 2 qualifying session over at Hockenheim. So do look forward to that. I do believe that Rob is not commentating for that one because he is busy. So I might commentate that one. I shall wait and see on that one. I'll maybe tell Flo a little bit later on if I can or not. But of course, we also have the top class this week at Hockenheim as well, tomorrow and Wednesday. Of course, tomorrow it will be on an hour later than normal due to Yuri getting home late, of course. So qualifying will will start at 5 p.m. Practice will start at 5 p.m. GMT, and the qualifying will start at 5:45. Of course, if the qualifying does cross over into the scheduled time for Formula 2, then Formula 2 will start straight after the qualifying session, so don't worry about that. And, of course, the next World Champ Car race will be in 2 weeks' time at Interlagos. The first ever time World Champ Car will be racing in Brazil, and the first ever time they'll race at Interlagos as well, and the first race outside of the USA for World Champ Car as well. Of course, next week we have Formula E, which will be taking place at the Portimao Prix at the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve in Portugal. So do look forward to that. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed. So thank you all for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Yuri, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.